Hey YouTube, welcome to A Gym. This is the supplemental channel to my main channel, Atonal. This is where I'm going to post like more fun things, vinyl updates, vinyl reviews, quick little videos, joke videos, and that sort of thing. This is where all that stuff's going to be, so that my main channel can be just strictly about exploration, long form exploration videos. For those of you who don't know me from my past and my previous work on other channels, I'm a big fan of doing very long content. I used to do live streams where I play a game called Desert Bus, which takes about like 8 hours. Hopefully we don't go 8 hours here. But I actually did do a live stream with another YouTube channel who wanted to try doing something long, and we ended up going for like 16 hours. So again, hope we don't go that long, but we're going to go through my whole entire vinyl collection just to give you an idea of what my tastes are, and not even really what you can expect from the main channel, because I plan on tackling subjects that I'm not a big fan of. Like I do want to cover like artists or projects or anomalies of things that I don't like, and keep myself out of it. But I have a lot of stuff lined up. I have a lot of video ideas lined up for things that I do like, that we're gonna not worry about that until time comes. But if you do have ideas for that, do let me know. I will give you credit for the idea if I have not heard it yet. Anyways, so I have two sections to this. Like I have stuff that I've listened to either a bunch of times or, you know, enough that I'm comfortable with. Then I have like this section down here. It's usually no more than like 3 or 4, but it's been getting a little bit heavy lately. But I have sort of kind of culled the herd recently. Since starting this channel, because I'm like, okay, now I need to make this kind of like my job, so I need to start listening to a little bit more, focus a little bit more, listening to music and stuff. But these are albums that I have heard. I have heard these albums. I just have not heard them on vinyl, or I feel like I should live with them a little bit longer for whatever reason, for personal preference, for whatever. There's been a couple of records that I've just listened to once, but felt that was enough and put it in the collection. There's other ones that that has not been the case. This one I have not listened to yet, and I should, because it's absolutely fantastic. This is The Beatles' Love. This is not some sort of compilation album. This is something that George R. Martin worked on. Is that R. Martin? I can't remember which one wrote the Game of Thrones book. Not the one that wrote the Game of Thrones books. George Martin, the fifth Beatle, producer of most of the Beatles albums, I think, except for Let It Be, which was Phil Spector, which, oh boy. Maybe I should do a video about Phil Spector, because holy shit, that guy's career is insane. Literally insane. But this is the version of the Cirque du Soleil show. Now, there is a few like mashups and stuff in here. There's kind of alternate take versions of stuff. The version of While My Guitar Gently Weeps on this is the best version. It came from an outtake that they put to orchestration and guitar and stuff. And Paul McCartney had a hand in this. I'm not sure if Ringo had a hand in this, but I do know that George Martin produced this album, or produced this soundtrack, I guess, to the Cirque du Soleil show, and it's fantastic. If you want a good toe in the water for the Beatles, this is where to go. If you want to listen to the Beatles but you can't decide what Beatles you want to listen to, this is a good kind of all-in-one, but it's not like just the hits, right? It's all over the place. There's some mashups and stuff. There's some really kind of like deeper cuts in the I guess there's no real deep cuts in the Beatles discography, but you know what I mean. It's pretty much got a lot of it, a lot of stuff in there. This one I wanted to do a review on. I had heard it a long time ago, and I remember it being like surprisingly good. It is surprisingly good. Is it good enough to like warrant a video about? No. It's just surprisingly okay, because the bar is so low. This is The Touch of Leonard Nimoy, and you would expect this to be like a novelty record. And it kind of is, but this is where he wanted to stop being novelty music and actually play like actual music. He's actually kind of going for like a folk type of thing. And it's great. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great. It's really good. Excuse me. It is really good. Really good. For what you would expect it to be. However, in the grander scope of music, it's not that great. It's pretty good. it's serviceable, but better than what you would expect. So I ended up just kind of scrapping that idea, but I still have it on vinyl because it's an interesting thing to pull out and be like, we're going to listen to this. And people are like, oh no, that's going to be terrible. And actually it's not terrible. And usually people are surprised. That's why I have it. It's not bad. I'll listen to it every once in a while. I just have not heard it since I bought it on vinyl, which I probably got like 2 or 3 months ago, or 3 months ago. Yeah. This is the Mephistopheles. Is it an EP or a maxi single or a single? I don't know. This is Never Born Again by Mephistopheles. I have listened to it once, and I thought it was not their best. I still, in terms of their newer stuff, I like the self-titled a little bit more. I don't know, a lot more, considering that there's more stuff to to go through. But it's just, yeah, I don't know why they just didn't just kind of wait, create more music, and then just make an actual album instead of just constantly coming out with singles and stuff. But this is what the front of the record looks like, and it's kind of this weird pressing that they're only doing a very limited run of, because it's not a picture disc. It's like this other thing where this is not playable. You can touch it, so it's no big deal. It's not going to ruin anything. It's just a graphic piece of vinyl that they press an actual record on top of. It's actually two separate things. I don't know if it'll pick up on this, but it's actually like two separate things. So I'm not the biggest fan of it. I would much rather just have like a 10-inch than have this, but it's an interesting idea. I mean, I know I have a feeling that they just wanted to try the process, and it doesn't look like they're going to do it again for anything. Oops. I mean, but actually, let's put it this way so we can see the label sticking out. So it has the 3 songs that were on the EP, as well as a couple of like demos. Oh my gosh, I really don't like the hole in the middle records because that always gets caught. So it's got Miracle Men, Paradise, Fable. Then it has some demos. Or no, there's 4 songs. Excuse me, it's not 3 songs. I was wrong, I think. Then it's got like a demo version of Asmodeus and Paradise. I don't know. I want to live with it a little bit more before I actually give it like a full-on like review. I'm not even going to do like if I do a review, it'll be on this channel. I might do a review of it. Is this their best work? No. Is this their worst work? Maybe. But the bar is so high. I really do like this band. And I know it kind of came off in my video that I did not like Maite Waite. I really do like Maite Waite. There hasn't been something that they've made that I don't like. Will you stay? Don't stop. They haven't done anything that I don't like. There's just things that I like more than others. And that was probably one of the least ones. However, I do like it better than some of their newer stuff. I think it's all good. I think it's all good. This is good too. But relatively speaking, this is their lowest point, I guess. The Pogues, If I Should Fall from Grace with God. There we go. Great Irish Celtic punk rock. Really great. This is on many different lists of like albums you need to hear before you die. And it's great if you like Celtic rock. If you like Dropkick Murphys or Flogging Molly, this is a much better version. This is who they're trying to copy. It's not to say that they're bad. It's just this is light years better. Light years better. What else we got? This is something I just recently got. And I was at this local store. It's just not too far from here, and they're only open for like 4 hours a day. And I was like, that's weird. So I just happened to wake up at like noon, and I was like, oh, perfect, sweet. I'm gonna wait because I work night schedule. So from 1 to 5 p.m. that's usually when I'm asleep. Even on days when I'm trying to stay up awake during the day for things. I'm usually asleep in that time frame, or I'm getting ready for the day or something like that. So it's hard for me to do something like this. But I just happened to wake up at noon once, and I was like, sweet, I can go and check this out. So I went down there, and I got another album. We'll get to that one because I haven't heard that one yet, so it's still in the thing too. But I saw this sitting in the corner, and I was like, "Oh, is this a $1 record?" And he kind of looks it over, and he's like, "Ooh, it's a little bit beat up. I guess it's free. I don't feel comfortable selling it for $1." But this is John Denver and the Muppets, and we'll get into a little bit how I feel about John Denver going forth. But this one, this configuration, I don't mind. This is pretty good Christmas music if you want to get into the holiday spirit. This is a good place to start. I guess, or maybe not a good place to start, but a good place to be. All right, what else we got here? Oh, sweet. This is so. I know a lot of people give the Walmart edition stuff shit. Don't. Everything that I've gotten from Walmart, which I think is like 2 other things, has sounded great. I don't know what the problem is. I have records that sound terrible. We'll get into those. We'll get into especially one. Now, ever since I bought that, I've always been looking up to like, is this good? And then everybody said that the Ghostbusters, the Walmart stuff was good, or it was fine. Despite all the people saying that it's bad, I think it's just angry people being angry. About local stores or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea what their motives are, but it seems as though they're not right. And I ended up buying one, and it sounded fine. So I started buying the rest. I have not listened to this one though. I couldn't get the hype sticker on there. The hype sticker just refused to come off without ripping. So here we are. This is Injustice for All, an album that sounds like absolute ass, but I think the songwriting and everything is one of their best. And it just sucks. This is remastered. I believe it's the 2009, 2018. I don't remember. I remember there was maybe a 2009 remaster where they tried to pump in some low end to it, but there's no bass still. It's unfortunate because this is a great album, and if you have not listened to Injustice for Jason, you should. You can experience what that album should have been hadn't a mentally deficient deaf person mastered the record, who goes by the name of Lars Ulrich. Now this is great. I have listened to this, just not on vinyl. This is Landscape Tantrums. This is the unfinished version of Deloused in a Comatorium by the Mars Volta. Now you're probably going like, well, that album was finished. What is this? Well, originally they were recording it by themselves. They were going to release it by themselves and release it on their own stuff like they did the Tremulent EP. And then I guess for somehow they got in contact with Rick Rubin, who was like, no, come to my studio and we'll do it. We'll do it right. And these are what they had done before they actually went off to record it. And Serpentax, I think, does not have lyrics, if I remember correctly. When I listened to it, I was like, where's all the singing? So it doesn't have a vocal track on it yet, but it's really good. It kind of gives you a glimpse of what they were kind of doing. It's leaning more in the direction of like if At the Drive-In, if like At the Drive-In was the Mars Volta, doing the Mars Volta stuff. It's a little bit more raw. Yeah. All right, so let's start with the stuff that I have listened to probably lots of times, especially this one. This album is a 10. 13th Step. If you want a good place to start with Perfect Circle, this is it. Their other album, Murder Norms, is also a great place to start as well. I like this album a lot more, so that's the one I have. Maybe I will get around to getting Murder Norms, but I really do love this one. The rest of their albums suck. That's it. And I think everybody who knows anything about A Perfect Circle will agree with me that if it's not this album or Murder Norms, it's not good. But this one is just, every song is just great. Even their slow burns are fucking fantastic. Especially the first 3 songs, just fucking knock it out of the park. It just has a nice flow to them. This is probably the most expensive vinyl that I own. I don't know why it's not being re-released often. This is a fantastic record. A lot of people will say that this and Nirvana's best album were the unplugged versions. They're wrong about Nirvana. They're right about Alice in Chains. Not to say the Alice in Chains albums and EPs, because most of their stuff, a lot of their stuff is EPs, weren't great. It's just that this was so much more gooder. It's just so much better. And I really do wish they would have kept in the part where Lane Staley messed up. There's a part where he's singing a song and he ends up singing the second verse first. Then like halfway through it, he just goes, fuck. And they start doing it again. This is one of the last recordings that it was the last time that one of the last times that Lane Staley had performed with Alice in Chains or with anyone at all. By this point, he was kind of really succumbing to his heroin addiction, and he just looks like he's just holding it together for the sake of the show. He's not doing well in this, but he still gives a great performance, and possibly the best unplugged MTV ever did. Of course, we all know the worst would be like Lauryn Hill, but that one was the best. This is an album that I don't listen to. I'm not a big fan of. This is Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass Going Places. This is very much like bossa. Was it bossa nova? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a kind of whatever. But there's a song on here called Spanish Flea that was very prominent in like early internet memes. And then it was also the dating game theme song, so that's why I have it. It's a meme record. That's why I have it. For the memes. I'm not a big fan of reggae. Not to say that I hate it. I have a couple reggae records on here. It's just that of the three kind of reggae kind of triad, I know there's like reggaeton and stuff like that, but I think of the three reggae kind of stuff, the early reggae stuff, reggae ska stuff, ska and dub, I enjoy far more than reggae, and even those I don't really listen to that often. I probably listen to more ska, but I don't even really listen to a lot of ska. But every once in a while, I do like to listen to Horace Andy. He's got a really interesting voice. This is just like a compilation album, or it's not even really an album. It's just like a compilation of just like some of his, what this person thought was their better songs. I think this is actually a bad choice. But I got it at a good price. I can't remember. There was some reggae. I'm not even sure if they're still around. But there was like this online store that sold like reggae or reggae related stuff. They also had some other stuff too. I bought like some Flaming Lips stuff from them too. But yeah, listen to Skylarking if you're unfamiliar with Horace Andy and you like reggae. It might be for you. Skylarking is a great place to start. I might have to rearrange stuff in here. Okay, speaking of the Mars Volta from earlier, I was kind of depressed, not really depressed, but I was really kind of bummed, I guess would be the right word, when the Mars Volta said that they were breaking up, and then later when they got back together, I was like, cool, we're getting the Mars Volta back. But they said no. They didn't actually say that, but I heard that they were like not fighting anymore. They were going to do some projects together, and this was their first project, and I was like, oh, it's not going to be the Mars Volta. And it's a project called Anti-Mask. It's a self-titled record. And I pre-ordered, I guess I pre-ordered something, and I got like 4 tracks that I own, and then they deleted it, which like I had to like hunt down a way to get it. But yeah, I bought it on Bandcamp, I guess. I think it's still in there. I don't know, but I remember like at one point it was like hard to find in my purchases, but here it is. I do think the rough cuts that they released on the virtual EP were better than this, or at least the versions on here. There's a couple of songs on here that is definitely true. I think "Drown Your Witches" was one of the ones on there. But anyways, "Drown Your Witches" is not a good song. It's not bad. It's just a couple songs on here that I could live without. But this is a nice. It's definitely much more in the vein of like At the Drive-In. It's a little bit more punky. It's a little bit more compact. It's not really proggy. It's not kind of drawn out, long guitar solos and stuff. It's very much rough. But this version of it has a little bit more production behind it, which I like the more raw, uncut version better, more gooder. Not to say that's bad. I really do enjoy that. In fact, I like this better than the new Mars Volta record, the self-titled one. The Fury of the Aquabats. This is also like a weird pressing. Actually, I don't think we got into some weird pressings yet. Was this? I don't even know. I haven't even looked at it. Oh, this one's glow in the dark. Fuck. Those of you who don't know, glow in the dark records usually sound bad. We'll see, because I don't know. Because I heard the Loust, or I had like Francis the Mute. I think that song glow in the dark as well. This is not glow in the dark. It's going to look like it's glow in the dark, but it's not glow in the dark, I promise. And it was fine. Didn't sound bad. Maybe I should give another listen. But anyways, this is the Aquabats, and I don't know if it'll pick it. Wait, is this is? Oh no, it's the other side. Oh, don't touch it! Don't touch it. All right. So if you look real carefully, you can kind of see little butt ridges on it. You could barely see it because it's still glossy, the embossed version. Can I get it to? Can I get it? Can I get it to see? No, you can't really see it, but you can kind of see bumping. Anyways, it has like an embossing. I really wish they would have just etched it, because then you would have seen it. Like even in person, you still have to like hold it up in the light to see it. But it's still like a neat little green color. They had like a bunch of different versions. Yeah, this is a great little ska record. It's very like Devo influenced ska. There's also a bunch of songs on here that I would not call ska at all, like Captain Hampton and the Midget Pirates, which is not appropriate to say anymore. I guess it's Little People Pirates. I think Attacked by Snakes is also not a ska song, and like Lobster Bucket's not. Yeah. But this is a great little ska record, and that's Travis Barker from Blink-182 before he joined. In fact, when they were touring with Blink-182, I guess the drummer had an emergency, and then he was like, okay, I'll fill out their sets, and then they were just kind of like, yeah, you should probably better fit in there. Back to the Mars Volta again, at the drive-in Relationship of Command. This album is a 10. Every track on here is just great. I'm not a big fan of emo. I have two other albums that are kind of in the vein of emo or post-hardcore that are in that kind of emo world. This is one of them. It doesn't feel like emo to me. It just fucking rocks. Front to back, it's great. If you have not heard this, give it a listen. Not even going to qualify that with like if you like the Mars Volta or anything. No. Just listen to it. It's fucking great. This is something I bought for Record Store Day like a long time ago. And I thought I recognized Atmosphere as being like more like underground type stuff that I used to like, and it kind of is, but this I'm not a big fan of. It's got the song Kanye West on here. It's just a picture disc, limited edition. I just bought it because I was like, maybe I know this, and I don't remember if I could look something up on my phone, but I was just like, maybe I like that, and I don't. Maybe I sell it because whatever. Anyways, this is a movie that I really thought was a dumb idea when I heard it. Then I saw the trailer and I was all in. Then I saw the movie and I was really all in. One of my favorite movies of that year. Not my favorite. We'll talk about one of my favorites when we get to the end of this. We talk about the stuff that I have on the way. But the Barbie soundtrack is pretty good. There's a lot of stuff on here that I'm not a big fan of. Like I'm not a big fan of Lizzo. I don't even know who Charlie XCX is, and I didn't like it anyway. But, Tame Impala is on here. Then I heard of Billie Eilish. I've never heard Billie Eilish until I picked this up. Not that I've been avoiding her or anything, or I don't listen to the radio, and I don't really pay attention to pop stuff. But after listening to it, I was like, oh, I get why she's so popular. She's really good. But it has I'm Just Ken. And it's great. Not my cup of tea on every track, but stuff that I do like is on there is good. All right, so this is a Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I don't have to say much about this other than it's great. And if you have not listened to it, you need to listen to it. It's like required listening. I'm going to do that with a lot of stuff that you should know, right? You should know Abbey Road. You should know Abbey Road. You shouldn't have to talk about it for 3 minutes. You should know. But it's fucking amazing, and you need to listen to it if you haven't. Bjork. I'm just now, I'm just not going to say just now. I've been getting into Bjork like slowly. And as I listen to one record, I like it. Like I really liked Human Behavior, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. Listen to Bjork, listen to Post, and I was like, holy shit, this is great. I've heard like pieces of Hyper Ballad before, but I've never heard the whole thing. I've heard like It's Oh So Quiet like a trillion times. I did not know that was her. And I was like, oh, and I want to say this is about like 8 years ago. And I was like, holy shit, like I really missed out on Bjork. I know that her other albums are better, but this is really, well, some of her other albums like Vespertine and Homogeneous are better albums than this, but this is still really good. I haven't gotten my hands on those two. But there was a while that I was just obsessed with Hyper Ballad. That song, the way it sounds is just awesome. And it sounds great on my old stereo, just the highs and lows. But that's a great album. Just because there's better albums does not mean that that's a bad album. It's fantastic. It's a great album. But Hyper Ballad, that song sounds so good. Especially the low end sounds fucking great. So my dad liked a little, some psychedelic rock, stuff, and I liked it too, but the stuff that I liked about it felt like it was lacking. And then we got the new kind of neo-psychedelia wave that came into place, and that really kind of was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted from those early psychedelic rock albums, that my dad had. But they did it much more satisfying, and this is one that's very satisfying. This is Phosphine Dream. There's a couple more like Passover that I need to get as well, but this is also an amazing record. Intro song is a great song. Just listen to this if you really want to get into neo psychedelic rock, but you've already heard Tame Impala. This is also a place to go. Now, I used to do a nationally syndicated talk radio show. I'll mention the name. It's the Freedom Fiends. It wasn't a big show. I think at its peak it was like 30 radio stations, mostly in like flyover areas, like very rural areas. Sometimes we got like letters, either pros and cons, from people who were like, "Oh, I was listening to you while I was tending my fields." So yeah, it was very niche. There was at one point we got a station in New York, but that was very short lived. And I have a story about that. Maybe I should talk about it sometime, like when I finally do live streams or something. I'll talk about that if you ask me. But this is Bomb. The guy who used to run the show was a guy named Michael W. Dean. We had since falling out. I'm not going to say anything bad about him because I'm very appreciative of the opportunity he gave me to be on a nationally syndicated talk radio show for like 2 years or something. But we had a big personal beef for a while. Hopefully that's all buried because I'm not trying to dig up anything. I'm not going to bring anything bad up. I'm not going to bring anything bad up other than to say that I do like this album. This is, or I guess it's like an EP. This is Bomb. What is it? Happy All the Time. And a lot of the intros and outros to that show was songs from, a lot of them were from here, but from his band Bomb. But Lucy in the Sky with Desi. Lucy in the Sky with Desi is the song that leaded into the show, which everybody recognized who was a fan of the show. I think it was the only, at the time, this may has changed, but at the time it was the only podcast that jumped to radio. So it was a podcast first, and it was very popular, and then it went on to being on the radio. I didn't join until after it was already on the radio. This is the greatest album of all time. I have to be in I'm not going to say a very particular mood. I can't be in any mood. I have to be in a very Trout Mask Replica mood to listen to this album. But when I do listen to it, which is not infrequent at all, I listen to it very regularly. It is the greatest album of all time. If you come onto this, listening to this thinking it's going to sound like, I don't know, some Hot Rats by Frank Zappa, or if you think it's going to sound like, I don't know, Tame Impala, or it's not. This is very abrasive, very aggressive. It sounds atonal and or arrhythmic. They're not. They're just polyrhythmic and polytonal. And Captain Beefheart's voice is very like raunchy and rah. saw that there was a review, or someone mentioned a review that said that Captain Beefheart makes Julie Andrews sound like, or excuse me, that that Captain Beefheart's voice makes Tom Waits sound like Julie Andrews. Accurate. This is amazing. And I'll link in the description below. There is this professor from Toronto that I found out through this little short video about the making of this. And he went into like great detail. Like he did like a 30-minute breakdown of one of the songs on here called Frownland, which is only like 1 minute and 42 seconds, but he goes through every bar of music and explains it, what key it's in, what the time signature is, and how it conflicts with the other time signatures by the other instruments that are playing at the time, and how the drums are kind of keeping it together. And he goes through the lyrics and talks about everything. This is an album that's worth getting obsessed about. At first listen, you're going to think it's terrible, but then you start to kind of get it. You start to go, oh, wait, no, there's other things going on here. There's something smart going on. It's not just a bunch of teenagers, picking up instruments and playing them for the first time in middle school. Like, no, these are like rehearsed, written music that was written by someone, and they were rehearsed. And each one of these pieces are so complex. This is almost like 8 albums. Like the amount of work that went into this is like 8 albums worth of music in one. It's like 8 songs going on in each, or 3 songs going on in each track. Fantastic record. I highly suggest not giving it 1 listen, but 2 listens. 2 listens, and it's 80 minutes long. There is cardboard over the drum set. They're playing with steel picks, so everything sounds like unfull and like scratchy and just raw and tinny, and yeah, it's it's a rough listen, but man, is it good. Man, is it good. Once you get it, it's great. This is one of the most expensive albums that I bought, that I paid for. I don't know how much it's going for now. I have other albums that are worth a whole lot more now, but I didn't pay for those at those prices. I paid for them at like MSRP. This MSRP was like $65, and I was like, that's pushing it, but it is the best thing that I've ever seen. I know Penn Jillette did a whole video about why it's the best thing he's ever seen, and he's seen some amazing things. He's seen Sun Ra, like Bob Dylan. He's seen everything, and he still says that this is the best thing he's ever seen. And I had to think about it too, and I think it might have been the best thing that I've ever seen as well. It is the best thing I've ever seen, and I've seen some amazing things. I've seen some terrible things, but this is fantastic. If the Book of Mormon ever comes to your town, get seats. Do it. You will not regret it. I don't care what your religion is. I know people who are Mormon who have seen this and thought it was great as well. And I'm gonna regret taking this out, but we have to open it. There's no way around it. I have to open this and show you. But it is a fantastic play. It's written by Matt Stone and Trey Parker of South Park fame, and I forget the other guy's name, from Avenue Q, which is kind of like a musical that was done in the same kind of vein as like Sesame Street, but it's like not G-rated. But yeah, it's even got the little stages, what all the sets look like. And it's great. And if you know, I'm not going to turn this into a religious channel. We're not going to get into discussion about religion. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. So if you're coming on here to going to say something disparaging about Mormonism, don't. We're not doing that. This is a music channel. We're talking about music. This is not a politics and religion channel. Okay? But if you if you do know anything about Mormonism, you will find this funny. The records come on golden plates. I'm just going to leave that there. We're just going to let that acclimate. What do we got next? I'll put that in sleeve layer. It's a pain in the ass. It barely fits. This is Reddit on vinyl. I used to love George Carlin when I was little. It since has aged very poorly. I mean, very poorly. And I don't blame him. I blame his people, that came after him who decided they can be just as funny by just regurgitating him all the time. Cranks. And I don't mean like people with very mild, popular conspiracy theories that they believe. I'm talking about like absolute cranks who think that, Jesus was an actual astrological parallel or, tax protester stuff and 9/11 truth and, we need a robot zoo. Like there's influencers who are making sure that everything gets suppressed so that we can't have a robot communist society. That sort of crankery. Kind of use him, and then you also have like the Reddit people, r/atheism who just basically just regurgitate this stuff ad nauseum as if they're actual arguments. Like, no, they're jokes. They were funny for what they were at the time. This is a landmark record in terms of legal battles for free speech. But it's aged poorly, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. He was doing what he thought was funny at the time, and it was funny. It's not his fault that the internet ruined him. Oh, let's talk about these three in bulk. Oh. Okay. All right, so Johnny Cash, live at San Quentin. Johnny Cash. And then I got Johnny. Hello, my name is Johnny Cash. My grandmother passed away, and my grandfather already passed away, so they just had a bunch of stuff, and I was going through the records. I was like, oh, yeah, I collect records, see what they got. I wish I would have gone now, more recent. For one, I get to spend more time with my grandmother. She was great. But the other one would have been, I would have known a little bit more about old 50s country western stuff that I probably would have picked up on it because I listened to or I played a lot of Fallout. But since I didn't, here we are. I only got this and a couple other things, but we'll get to those very shortly. But she had some Johnny Cash in there, so I got that. This one, live at Folsom Prison, I got at a Goodwill for $1, and it was pristine. And I believe I looked it up on Discogs. Looked up all the things I could possibly look up, like the stuff that's written in the dead wax and stuff. And I think this is the very first pressing, and it's not really worth much. And I mentioned to people like, oh yeah, I got a first pressing of it, and they're like, oh, I bet that's worth money. It's not. You got to remember, just because something was like first pressing of something doesn't necessarily mean that's expensive. And every time that they produce other copies of it, it degrades the price. I mean, I remember Mars Volta albums were going for like $400. Like Francis the Mute, I remember there was like a version that was like $500. Those $500 editions now have dropped down to like $150. The reason why is because I started reissuing them. Good. I don't really care about the numismatic value of records. I care about history and owning it and pulling it out and showing it to friends and having conversations about it. That's what's interesting to me, not the monetary value. In fact, I plan on dying with these records and then using the money that when they're sold or whatever to pay for like funeral costs or to go to family and stuff. Anyway, here we're gonna wrap up my the stuff that I own that's emo related, and that's Circa Survive. This is I don't think I've ever remembered how to say this correctly. Juranta, Runa? I don't know. Anyways, this is a really good record. It's not. I mean, there's emo stuff in it, but I wouldn't say this is an emo record. This very much kind of falls into like indie rock with some emo influence, I guess. But this is a really great record. Highly recommend you check out Circa Survive if you have not. I used to think this was their best album. Everybody still thinks it's their best album, and it's not. It's this one. I'm telling you, Blue Sky Noise is a much better record. It is. It is. Les Claypool's Duo D Twang. If you like like I'm riding through the the bayous or the swamps in Florida with my airboat. This is the type of music you would expect to be on this. Les Claypool of Primus fame. I'm always a big fan of things that Primus Les Claypool does. Not a big fan of like modern Primus stuff. Like some of it's okay. Like the most recent one I thought was okay. But oh god, the Wonka album is. I hate crime. Absolute hate crime. That album is so bad. Anyways, but this is great. This is all kind of like country, just them playing a steel and steel bass and a steel guitar. I don't know who the other guy's name is, but it's Les Claypool. So there's a lot of slappy kind of bass, and they also do covers of like "Staying Alive" and "Jerry Was a Race Car Driver" and "Wynona's Big Round Beaver" and Amos Moses. Of course, they got to have Amos Moses on there. "Man in the Box" by Alice in Chains, and yeah, it's great. You should check it out if you like that kind of sound, or if you're a big fan of Primus, you should also check that out as well. Oh, I got it. Let's get right into it. Alright, so this is my collection of Nat King Cole. This is the type of music you put on when a girl comes over your house and wants to make out. Yeah, this is what you put on. Really doesn't really matter which one you throw on. They're all kind of make out music for sure. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Yeah. Anyways, I will say this. This is the best of Nat King Cole, and it does not have Unforgettable. And it's unforgivable that it does not have Unforgettable on here. And none of the other ones do too. So I have to track down some version of Nat King Cole because that's my favorite song by him. And I got all of those from my grandmother, and I started listening to them, and I was like, none of these. Yeah. Also, those are other ones that I got from my grandmother. I didn't buy those. Those were kind of going through their stuff after she passed away. Anyways, John Coltrane, Giant Steps. Fantastic. And the title track on here, Giant Steps, actually is kind of like a rite of passage for a lot of jazz musicians to improvise over. It's extremely hard to do. There's a whole video about it. Go look it up. John Coltrane's Giant Steps. Earworm. They'll have more information about what it is, but it's basically kind of jumping around the circle of steps almost impossibly. Unless you're really talented. So let's talk about some video game stuff. We got this, we got video game, not video game, then video game. The original run of this was that, but then I bought something and listened to it. This is Conker's Bad Fur Day. And I don't want to take it out of its sleeve. I mean, taking it out of this part's fine. Taking the discs out, whatever. But the whole vibe of this packaging is very early Disneyland Records type stuff. And to give you an idea of what like the labels would look like, I remember like I said in the first cut. No, that's not it. Said in my first cut. There we go. That's it. Yeah. So they kind of have labels that are like this, except they're a little bit more colorful, kind of like Disneyland Records, right? Yeah, it's Conker's Bad Fur Day. One of my favorite games of all time. It's better to play on the Xbox. I know it's got less cussing, but this is the music from the N64 version, and it's got Wendy and Company, which is an earworm. You'll hear it. You'll get stuck in your head. I've used it in videos in the past. It's like background music for like comical things that are happening. And then there's Pooh, which is a song about a giant poop monster with corn for teeth throwing poop at you. And you have to defeat him by throwing toilet paper into his mouth. As you do. As you do. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break from Creedence Clearwater Revival. If you're not familiar with Creedence Clearwater Revival, you're a bad person. You're a bad person. If you're not directly familiar with listening to their music, you should at least be familiar with them through like other things that are famous that have them involved, like The Big Lebowski or something. Fantastic. Listen to them. If you have not listened to them, listen to them. If you have not listened to them, your musical education is woefully incomplete. And I'm not even going to have to talk about it because you should already know. You should already know. I shouldn't have to explain this to you. You should know. It's Credence. Cuphead. Don't Deal with the Devil. This is the soundtrack to... this is the soundtrack to the first... I don't think it has... Yeah, I don't think it has the the newer songs from the add-on. I should probably try to find a way to get that. Kind of neat little packaging, too. Comes off as very... 1920s, 1930s kind of pressings of records. It's got that whole feel. It's kind of looks like those 72 records. Even the inner sleeve. Very, very, very selected tunes. Very neat presentation. Very good music. In fact, you may really be interested in the game at all if you like kind of 1920s sounding jazz. But I think this is better than any 1920s jazz that I've ever listened to. They did very good job, not just replicating the sound, but just nailing it out of the park. It's fantastic. 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 I need to get more. I know. I need to get more. This is not their best record, but this is the record that kind of get me to go, okay, maybe I should actually give Daft Punk a chance, because I just don't like techno. Excuse me. I don't like techno. Then after listening to this and delving into some of their other earlier stuff, their house stuff, I like them. And I just need to get more. But this is Daft Punk Random Access Memories. It's more of a funk record. And I don't have to say much about it because you probably heard Get Lucky a trillion times everywhere. Bedtime for Democracy. In fact, I got to be real careful with this one. It's already trying to slip out to show you. This is Dead Kennedys, Bedtime for Democracy. Here's the whole artwork for it. I hate how this is put. I hate it, but there's no other way of doing it. Yes. Except maybe making it a pocket up here. I guess that would probably be the smartest thing to do. Anyways, but yeah, this doesn't help that this is also... Oh, and it also has artwork inside the sleeve as well. Yeah. Had it in wrong to begin with. Anyways, yeah, this is Bedtime for Democracy. Fantastic Dead Kennedys record. This is them kind of going back to their original sound after kind of exploring like hardcore and like kind of more experimental style stuff. I guess we're putting it in like this. You know, this record's weird. This record is very weird. I guess we put it in like that. I don't know. Alright, so we're 47 minutes. We pretty much made it at the same time. We're making them at the same time. Dead Milkman, Beelzebub. Fantastic record. Satirical punk rock from Detroit, Michigan. This has Punk Rock Girl. It's got Stewart. You know what, Stewart? I Like You. I think this also we're going to drink some bleach. Ringo Buys a Rifle. Brat and the Frat. That was oh god, talking about beating a woman, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's edgelord for the 80s, but it's a fantastic record. If you have not listened to them, that's a good place to start. Also, Big Lizard in My Backyard is also a great record to start. I'm gonna be real careful holding this one up because this has like stuff that's probably not friendly for YouTube, but actually I'm gonna probably just put my hand over it. This is The Death Store. Or, excuse me, The Death Store. The Money Store by Death Grips. This is like experimental hip-hop, and it's very raw and aggressive. If you can imagine, like, if, like, thrash metal and punk and just really influenced, like, electronic and hip-hop records, this is it. This is aggressive hip-hop. And, yeah, it's great. It's great. The whole album is great. I don't know if I'd give it a 10, but it's fucking great. I really need to get more Death Grips stuff, but the thing with Death Grips is, like, I'll listen to this, and then I'll just get hooked on it, and then I don't want to listen to anything else, and I want to listen to their discography, because it's just so good. It is really good. And you have to be in a very particular mood to listen to it, because it's aggressive and fills you with anxiety. But if you want to listen a little bit more accessible in hip-hop, we have Deltron 3030, the self-titled album. This is one of the Dan the Automator. We'll get into a couple more Dan the Automator very soon. But Dan the Automator, anytime he works with with an artist, gets them to do like an alternate persona. This is Del the Funky Homo Sapien working with Dan the Automator, and this is kind of like what music would sound like, and talking about problems that would exist within the year 3030, which I guess I know what life is like in 3030. But it's a great record. It's got some great music, great beats. Lyrics are a little on the side, but it's still great. Highly recommend it if you want to listen to more kind of like stuff that kind of delves into not going to say it's underground, but delves into the underground. John Denver. I'm not a fan of John Denver. I have this because my parents had a bunch of records that were destroyed by my nephew. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, this is the working theory, because everything was just completely just scratched to hell. And the working theory is it was the nephews using them as frisbees. This was one of the ones that survived. I'm just holding on to it. At some point, I'm going to give this back to my dad now that he has a turntable. Again, be like, be careful, keep this away from the nephews. they're all adults now, so they don't have to worry about that, but whatever. Death Clock, my favorite... not my favorite metal band, by far. Not my favorite metal band, but definitely my favorite melodic death metal, which is very specific. I've heard other melodic death metal bands, and they're okay. They don't hit the spot like Death Clock does. Which, if you're unfamiliar with Death Clock, it's not a real band. It's a cartoon called Metalocalypse that was about a band called Death Clock. And Brendan Small pretty much plays the guitar, and he plays the bass and the vocals of Nathan Explosion, and they also had some drummers. They have a drummer that's extremely good, and he's also a very good guitarist, and it's fantastic. And the first song on this one is so fucking great. I still think Death Album 2 is better. I want to get Death Album 1 once it becomes a little bit more reasonably priced, because it keeps doing that thing where they have a small release and then it goes back up like crazy. But it's a little pricey. I mean, I think it's like $40 for one disc re-release version of it. No, thank you. Shouldn't have to say much about this. This is Dio. I only got into Dio because of Tenacious D. I was like, because anytime when I heard Black Sabbath, I wasn't really interested in any version of them that didn't have Ozzy in it. So I overlooked all that stuff until Tenacious D kept talking about how great he was, and so I thought I'd give this an album a listen. It's great. This is also great. I need to get Rainbows as well. But Dio is great. Holy Diver is also great. I remember I did a stream on my other stuff back in the day where I said, like, this is the only greatest hits album that I own. It's not. But I try to avoid them. But this was one of the first records I bought before I knew anything about, like, the whole album experience and that sort of thing. So I thought greatest hits would be like, I have all my favorite songs on here. I mean, it does have a lot of great songs. It doesn't have The End or anything like that, but, it's the Doors. I really need to get some albums from Doors. This is the one I like to troll people who are vinyl files, who are like, no, I only listen to vinyl because vinyl is a real thing. It sounds like the band is really in there with you, and I'm like, okay, cool. Do you like hip-hop? Yeah. Okay, let's put this on. Wow, it sounds good. It sounds like they're really in the room with us, right? Well, that's weird because they're digitally remastered. That's weird that So... a lot of albums today, or not even albums today, this goes back into the 80s and 70s and 80s. 70s and 80s, they would brag about how they're using the latest digital technology to record, and it's been like that forever. Unless you're digging back into the 60s and 50s and before then, you're getting digital music just on vinyl, which is fine. I don't buy vinyl because I think it's inherently better or because it's analog and it's true. None of that stuff's true anymore. Digital is here, and digital is good now. It's at a point now where it's just as good, if not better, than analog. But I just like the whole experience of vinyl. I like putting on the record, and investing so much time in making sure the record's clean before I put it on and everything, that I'm a little bit more focused on the music, and I can look at the album artwork and stuff, whatever. But this is a digitally remastered album. I like to troll it. And it still sounds great. It sounds fine. Doesn't sound any worse than anything else that I've listened to. And they're all digitally remastered. Everyone is digitally remastered. Everything I have in here is digitally mastered for the record player. Okay, so or turntable. So deal with it, okay? This is a great album. This is a 10 hip hop album. This is some early G-funk. This is a pioneer record, as well as another one we'll get into much later on. You already probably know what it is. The only problem with this is it's very kind of whiny. I'm talking about whiny in terms of anytime they mention Eazy-E, it just sounds like they're whining. Other than that, though, it's great. If you can ignore that part, it's a 10 record for sure. Yeah, it comes off as whining about Eazy-E, but yeah. There's another Dan the Automator. This time it's with Kool Keith, who is going by the moniker of Dr. Octagon. This is Dr. Octagon, ecologist. And this album is fantastic, but it's fucking weird. And I mean really fucking weird. You should already know that when I said Kool Keith. Kool Keith is a fucking weird guy. And this is kind of like a hologram. Let me see if this is a little hologram thing that comes out. And yeah, you can see that you won't see the 3D in a 2D video, but you'll see it's kind of moving independent. The skeleton guy is moving independent of the background. But yeah, this is a fantastic record. It's fucking weird as fuck because it's Kool Keith. And Kool Keith has like this history of like having alter egos. Like he's done Dr. Doom and Black Elvis, and Kool Keith, I guess, was one, and now Dr. Octagon. He has a history of just having like weird alter egos. This is another one that's fantastic. Listen to Half Shark, Alligator, Half Man if you really want to know how fucking weird this album can get. Blue Flowers is also a great song. I think that was a sing-along of it. And then 3000 is also great. Easy Star, God damn it. Easy Star All Stars Dub Side of the Moon. This is a dub album of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, except they recorded all of the music themselves. What they do is they make like a reggae version of it, and then they go into the studio and edit it to make it dub. Did a lot of work behind this, and it's fantastic. If you like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and you like dub and you want your cake, if you want that ice cream on top of your cake, there you go. And this is a Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts dub band, or Easy Star's Lonely Hearts dub band. So it's a Sgt. Pepper cover album. That's also really good. This, I don't know why it's back in there. This is one of the albums that survived my parents' stuff too, but I'm not a fan of this. There was like one good song on there, and I remember, yeah, Mr. Blue, was it Mr. Blue Sky? I think it is Mr. Blue Sky. The one that's on Guardians of the Galaxy. I listened to this not that long ago, and I was like, why do I have this in here? And then Mr. Blue Sky came on, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I kind of don't even want to put it back. I'm not going to put it back. I'm going to put it... yeah, fuck it. I'll put it back. I'll put it back in the right spot. So you can get an idea that I don't have a lot of ska, but here's some ska. Fishbone Soldiers. This is Fishbone's EP. It says Party at Ground Zero. This is probably like the beginning of third wave ska, very early coming out of two-tone. You can kind of see like where third wave kind of got his kind of defining sound. But this is a great record, and it's great. That's all I gotta say about it. It's an EP, it's short, you can listen to it real quick. One of the best ska records ever made. And it's only an EP. So right, here we get into the Flaming Lips stuff. This is Electric Worms though. Music die Schwer zu Twerk, which is two of the band's members, most notable members probably. That is Stephen Stroid. I gotta learn how to pronounce it because my next video is about a Flaming Lips song. Stephen Droidsed. Anyways, and Wayne Coyne. Stephen is their kind of primary songwriter, and then Wayne is their front man. He also contributes stuff. Came with a flexi disc, which I didn't get until later. Quick dirty behind that one is just I went and bought it. I was so hyped for this. I went and bought it, and they didn't have the little flexi discs out until like later. And I was there like opening. I stood outside of the store waiting for them to open. And then the next day I went in because there was something else I wanted. I don't remember. And I saw those sitting on the channel. I was like, hey, I bought that. Like, how come I didn't get one of those? They're like, oh, yeah, we probably put them out later. Can you prove that you bought it? Do you have a receipt? And I showed them my membership ID. They checked my purchase history, and they're like, yep, there you go. But anyways, this is a really neat because it is a Dayglow album. I have one other Dayglow. I'm not going to pull that one out. But I'll pull this one out, just to give you an idea of like what Dayglow is. And it's hard to really see, but you can kind of see like how the light reflects off of it. It has this really beautiful purple hue. And then the rest of the disc is also kind of like a orangey purple. And in the sun, it looks awesome. It just radiates. Hence Dayglow. This is kind of weird. This is kind of like weird stuff that they're doing, just kind of more experimental stuff that they didn't feel really comfortable with putting out as like a Flaming Lips album, and they also wanted to work with some other people as well. It's great. Highly recommend it. If you like the Flaming Lips, you should check this one out. You definitely missed out on this one. Come on, Flexi Disc, out of the way. Thank you. All right, so Flaming Lips, because that's literally what comes next alphabetically. Soft Bulletin. Fantastic record. I gotta go put this back up on my room. It's gonna be the background from the next video. Fantastic record. Fantastic record. Fantastic record. This is after the band had already done their kind of alternative rock phase, and they had a really popular hit, which was She Don't Use Jelly. And they had a subsequent album that came out afterwards and bombed, didn't sell shit. And the guitar player left, Ronald Jones, which Ronald Jones was very fixated on playing one specific type of sound, which is alternative rock. And once they left, they said, like, fuck it, let's do something completely different. And in fact, we're going to do something so different, we're not even going to have a guitar on it. Even though Wayne Coyne was a guitarist of the band and played guitar live and everything, they're like, let's not play guitar and try to see what we can do interesting. And so they started messing with MIDI, and they wanted to do something like very orchestral. But the way they kind of write their songs, it oftentimes means they're going to be tinkering with stuff, which would be way too expensive to have an orchestra come in and record stuff and then go, yeah, we need to change this part, and then have them rewrite the music and perform again. So they did it with MIDI, and they did something really interesting with the MIDI that they did, was detuning very slightly up and down all of the various instruments so that on the MIDI, so it sounded almost like a real orchestra. This is probably the most realistic orchestra that I've heard on music from, that was coming from electronic MIDI type stuff at the time. Since it's becoming a lot better, but for the time it sounds almost like an orchestra. Then in fact, there's parts of it where it does feel like there's actual an orchestra playing in the background. If it's masked under stuff, it definitely does sound like it. Once it's front and center, you can kind of be like, oh yeah, something's off about that. But it still sounds great. This record is fucking great. I'm not just trying to disparage it at all. It's fucking great. It's not their best work either. And it's not to say that this is bad. It's just to say that, God, Flaming Lips is one of my favorite bands. I have a few favorite bands. And you can tell which ones are my favorite bands because I have the most records from them, except for one. Except for one band, which I don't have a lot of stuff with. I need to. We'll get into them. It's definitely one of my favorite bands. Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots. This is probably the one that most people have heard of. It's got Do You Realize? It's got Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots Volume 1 or Part 1. It has Fight Test. It has Are You a Hypnotist? Yeah, this is a fantastic record as well. It's more, every one of their records after the Soft Bulletin, well, starting with the Soft Bulletin, is a radically different sound from the previous one. I think War at the Mystics is a little bit more kind of repetitive in terms of like this, but it seems to be much more like straightforward, like psychedelic rock sounds, which I don't own because I don't think it's their best work. Not to say it's bad. I might pick it up at some point. This is one I don't think is all that great as well, but it's still interesting to listen to. And it's not bad. It's just comparatively speaking, it's one of their worst projects. But this album starts a very interesting time for the Flaming Lips, and that's why I own it, because this is like the very beginning where they're starting to get fucking weird in a good way. And you'll see why. And you'll definitely see why when I do the video about Seven Skies H3, because I go into this in far more detail. But they did a cover album of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, and they collaborated with Henry Rollins and Peaches. There was someone else? Oh, and Stardust and White Dwarfs. This is really a weird interpretation of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It's good. It's not the best, but it's still really good, and it's very unique. The takes they have on this are very different. There's like slower songs that are far more upbeat and uplifting, or more rocky, and then they're more rocky or more like upbeat songs are kind of like more mellow tunes. They really kind of they really not just changed, they changed everything about the music. It made it their own, and it's good. This is what I would say would be their best album. It's also in that time frame as well. Now, this was at the time that neo-psychedelia was coming out and was getting very popular. You had bands like Tame Impala and the Black Angels coming out. You had Pond. Who else was at the time? Animal Collective, MGMT. They were all doing like really interesting psychedelic rock stuff. And Flaming Lips, who had already done a lot of psychedelic stuff, was like, okay, all right, well, we'll do something, but we're going to do it like really different, like very different. And a lot of this feels kind of jammy. And it's almost, I'm not going to say like, but you'll get like a riff that kind of goes over and over and over and like builds and builds and builds. It's not quite like Swans, sort of like Swans, but much more mellow. I'm not going to say mellow. Very different. It's hard to explain this album. It really is hard, but it's my favorite album. But yeah, you'll get like a lot of repetitive kind of grooves that kind of continue after the whole song, and then like, it takes little variations here and there. But there's the way they mastered this album, where it sounds like a lot of the guitar and the bass is like overgained to the point where it's clipping. And then on top of that, you'll have like this very like pleasant, and it's not brick walled for some reason. It's also not this very dynamic record. You also get like this very crisp and clean kind of highs that kind of glide over it, like doom doom doom, right on top of it. It's the weirdest mastered record I've ever heard in my life, and it's intentionally done, and it fits the sound for the music that they're going for. This is just chef's kiss. This is not the place to start with the Flaming Lips, but this is the place to end for sure. This is by far the best thing they've ever done. And if you don't agree, you're wrong. Objectively wrong. Now, this is how I got into the Flaming Lips. I knew about the Flaming Lips only because I kept hearing them working with stuff, doing stuff with Tame Impala, and I was a big fan of Tame Impala at the time, and I was looking for other stuff, and I saw that Flaming Lips is also, maybe we should get into them. And when I heard that they were doing a mix EP, I was like, okay, this is my toe in the water. Them doing Tame Impala songs, and then Tame Impala doing Flaming Lips. And this is very common, like punk rock. You'll see like split EPs all the time. Oh, by the way, that one's called Embryonic. I don't think I mentioned it. Embryonic. 2009, Embryonic. Flaming Lips. Fantastic record. Sorry. I do that sometimes. Then we got, but this is the Peace and Paranoia tour. So Flaming Lips do, I didn't put it back right. Flaming Lips do two Tame Impala songs, and Tame Impala does two Flaming Lips songs. And I really don't like these PVC cases. They're not good for the records either, but whatever. So Runaway Houses, City in Clouds, and Elephant. Those are Tame Impala songs that Flaming Lips does, and then Are You a Hypnotist and Silver Trembling Hands, which they actually show. They're actually from two different albums. They show the little albums on the back. But this is a... I want to say it's almost 200. It's almost 200 gram. No. 200 grams don't move. It's 180 gram, but this is it's almost tie-dye. And from what I understand, they actually have people manually dropping random colors in to make this album neat. But yeah, it's a neat little cover EP. even though Tame Impala's tracks are done live, and Flaming Lips have done theirs in their infamous pink studio. Still great. This was a great toe in the water. This really was. Now this is the one that I'm going to do a whole video on, so I'm not going to speak too much about it here, but this is a really neat kind of a condensed version of Seven Skies H3, the 24-hour long song. And it comes on this really neat mirror record. And the inside of it as well is also the actual thing that houses the music, or houses the record itself, is also. And then it comes on like this kind of clear bone record. This is a 40-minute rendering of the 24-hour long song. It's much more brief. If you really don't have 24 hours to sit around and listen to a whole song, maybe you should check out the 40-minute long version. Actually, there's a 120-minute version I think is better, that has all the movements. This doesn't have all the movements in it, and we'll get to that in the video. But the 120-minute one does. So I would say either check this one out or the 120-minute long version if you want to listen, have an idea of what it's like to listen to the whole thing. Now this is where I think they start to get kind of wound down in terms of their best stuff. They've done stuff past this that's also very interesting and cool, but I think this is the last one that I think is cool. The Terror I thought was an okay album. It's not something that I would own on vinyl. There's only a handful of tracks on there that I really like, so I didn't pick that one up. But I did get with Hetty Fwynn's, with a little help from my friends. This is the Sgt. Pepper and Lonely Hearts Club Band cover album. This also has, I think it also has White Dwarfs in there. It has Miley Cyrus is on here twice. She has got two songs. She's got Day in the Life, and she's got Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, obviously. Who else is on here? Electric Worms is on here. I think they just do that. It's just Electric Worms. Tegan and Sarah, Stardeath and White Dwarfs. There you go. There they are on here. New Flames. Moby is on here. Yeah. Neat. Check this out if you like Flaming Lips and you like Sgt. Pepper. It's also a Dayglow album, but it's orange and it doesn't pick up very well on the camera. I kind of don't want to talk about this because I'm going to get hated for it. I'm not a big Fleetwood Mac fan. I'm really not. Not to say they're bad. It just doesn't hit for me. But I do have this because this was one of the albums that survived my parents' record holocaust, I guess. And this one survived, but it's not for me. But I've had a lot of girls who I've dated who big fan of Fleetwood Mac, and I put this on for them and they're happy. So that's why I keep it around. Let's see. Oh, this is also not for me as well. But I saw this and I do like Iran. The rest of the album, but yeah, One Hit Wonders, Flock of Seagulls. You should know them. And Iran. If I really wanted to listen to something really 80s. Okay. Here, let's unjog these ones. And jog these ones. There we go. Okay. Oh, we already did that one. Trying to get some extra press. Wow, it's still shaking my head. This is Ghostbusters. I don't have to say much about this. It's the Ghostbusters soundtrack. And it's on white vinyl. Because why would it be on any other color except for maybe glow in the dark? But who would want to glow in the dark? Here's what's weird. Okay. There's this movie called Glory Days. It's nothing film. Like it came out in the early 90s. Had a bunch of like actors who were, all of them were in there before they were famous. And it's not like one of those like, oh, it's one of those movies when they're all famous we didn't realize they're genius. Maybe, but it's not a great movie. It's a good punk rock movie. If you like punk rock movies, it's definitely a good punk rock movie. But it's not, it's not like a hidden gem or masterpiece or something. But it's a masterpiece in the fact that it's a great soundtrack. It has a lot of great punk songs. And out of nowhere, for some reason, I was thinking about it last week. And then when I told you I went to the record store locally in town, I went to another local record store that I hadn't been to either of them. And I go through their soundtrack. I was like, it's always worth a look. This was in there. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You have to be kidding me. So I was just thinking about this the other day. What the hell? So of course I got it, because it's an Omen. But this is Glory Days. The movie I would recommend you check out if you like punk rock movies. It's got Ben Affleck, French Stewart. It's got Alyssa Milano. It's got, I think, Brendan Fraser is in it for a moment. Lisa Remini. She's in it. When I remember, there's... oh, God. Matt Damon is in it for a brief moment as well. The guy from one of the guys from Sliders is in here as well. It's all right, but the soundtrack is great. It's got the Vandals, got the Offspring, not the Offspring. It's got the Vandals. It's got NoFX. It's got Mr. T Experience. It's got Tilt, Bouncing Souls. There's a Hepcat track on here. This is a fantastic record. Fantastic record. Highly recommend. If you like punk rock, you should check that one out. Probably got songs you've already heard, but yeah. So I bought this album. I wasn't really familiar with it until I took it home and listened to it, and I was like, that's right. This is not the good one. This is not really a Gorillaz record. This is an album that one of the guys was stuck in his hotel room for some reason, and he had to make a whole album with his iPad, and it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, kind of regret buying that one. I might end up slinging it. This is a record from my junior high school days, and it still holds up. Green Day Dookie. I don't have to say much about this album. It's Green Day Dookie. It's their best album. It's their best album. Kerplunk might have been a better album, but it's mastered poorly. But this is their best, record. Not just their indie record. Pretty good. Highly recommend you check it out if you have not listened to it. It's probably one of the albums, that and Offspring are the two that really kind of got punk in the mainstream. This is a shitty album. And if you ask the band, they will tell you this is a shitty album. And they will also tell you it's also a shitty album by a shitty band called Green Jello. This is a Record Store Day exclusive. I only bought it because I have so many memories of this about being a kid and listening to Three Little Pigs and Anarchy in Bedrock, Twitch. And this has both. And this is speckled vinyl. It's clear with white speckles. It's supposed to be flies, I think. But this is the Serial Killer soundtrack, yeah. Green Jelly. Little pig, let me in. Not by the hairs in my beard. Yeah. Anyways. No, we skipped one. That ain't right. I got these out of order. There we go. Gunship. If you like what you imagine, 80s sci-fi, horror, action film soundtracks, but they don't actually sound like that except for maybe Blade Runner. This is what to check out. This is Gunship. What makes them different than other synthwave, which is the type of music they are. This is their self-titled album, by the way. What makes them a little bit different is that they have a vocalist. A lot of them don't have vocalists, but this one does, and it's really good. And if someone were to say, "Hey Jim, can you show me this vaporwave?" No, this is not vaporwave. So if you were to say, "Hey, would you introduce me to this synthwave everybody's talking about?" This is probably the album I'd pull in to listen to. However, I do like their newer album a little bit better. I have not listened to their newest album. I need to. It's in my. I've been busy with other music stuff, but this is Dark All Day. This is where they kind of experiment a little bit with kind of like dark synth. Dark synth is also good. There's a lot of tracks on here that are dark synth, but then there's a lot of kind of flowing to the well for them as well, and not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. Oh boy, this album. I guess a little history lesson is in order. So there's a group called was a group called the PMRC. It had a little member by the name of Tipper Gore, who was married to Al Gore, her and the Back and Control Center and a bunch of other groups like that got together and decided they were going to fight against all these music labels who were putting profanity and stuff out. And they they thought that they could do it cheaply instead of going after big artists like Prince or something like that, or whatever. They just started going after like small time ones. We'll start with them, show that it's a viable strategy, and then we'll get some of the bigger ones. And that method proved to be unsuccessful, and so they started PRs, just doing a bunch of PR smearing against the others and having congressional hearings about it. Whole mess. But the two artists they went after were, I think it was the Dead Kennedys, and I can't remember who else. I want to say Zappa. I don't think it was Zappa, though, because Zappa's a big fish. But it was. But they didn't realize that Jello Biafra is, like, not an idiot. Jello Biafra may have terrible political takes as far as you're concerned, but he's not an idiot. And he knew what was going on. He's very politically active, and so he knew what was happening. And he fought them tooth and nail and embarrassed them. And then all the other people they started going after as well, turns out they're not idiots either. Dee Snider, Frank Zappa, and they even brought on John Denver because they're like, let's bring on John Denver because John Denver, he makes wholesome music. He's going to agree with us. And he came on and he's like, no, this is all terrible. This is all a bad idea. And I had some experience with censorship myself when I did Rocky Mountain High, which everyone thought was about smoking weed, and it's not. And it doesn't matter if it is, shouldn't be censored. So, yeah. So this was their kind of like, screw you PMRC album. I don't think Gore was ever involved with any of that stuff. With the litigation or anything like that, but they definitely were involved in the conversation for sure. And this is America Must Be Destroyed. They are very theatrical. They have put on costumes and that sort of thing. And this is a pop-up book of T-Rex annihilating the town. And a lot of this was either attacking directly the PMRC directly, or being as offensive as possible to kind of stick it to the PMRC. And one song in particular is called Rock and Roll Never Felt So Good, which I can't even tell you in G-rated terms what it's about, because it would definitely get dinged. It involves predation, I can't even use the P word now, like the movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can't use that word now. Not even like the PEDO one either. But prey, the type of animal that gets prey on very young children, as young as 12 or 13. Still, it's bad. But it's a great song once you understand the context, and you're like, okay, I get it. But if this song were just to come out today with no context, people would be like, oh my God. Oh my God. But when you understand that the song isn't meant to be like as offensive as humanly possible, there's just no way around to just talking about every bad thing you can possibly imagine, including wood chipper material. Now, this is a misprint. The last track of this album, this is a 45 album, so it's on 2 discs. It's 45 RPMs for higher fidelity. The last bit of it is 33, and it's only like this big, and then the rest is just like a big spiral in the middle. Didn't notice, and a couple of these got out. I got one. So apparently one of them sold for $100 once, but if you look on Discogs, it'll say, we don't know the price of this. There's no average price to it. But one did sell for $100, so let's go back to ska. This is Hepcat, Dub on Time. Now, Hepcat is one of my favorite kind of ska bands from the 90s. They were in the more of the vein of like traditional ska, even though they were a newer band. They were going for that kind of older Jamaican sound. And one of the lead singers died recently, Greg Lee. May he rest in peace. The other singer, still alive, is Alex Dessert, and you may recognize him from a lot of film and TV, especially TV. He was the guy in Swingers who kept going like, this place is dead anyway. Every time they were at a place, they'd be like, oh, let's get out of here. Like, yeah, this place is dead anyway. He was also the blind guy in Becker, the TV show Becker with Ted Danson. But this version is kind of neat because it comes with Hepcat Dub on Time, which dub on time. And this is a dub version of ska tracks, which I have never heard before. And that's fucking great. You did it. I'm very impressed with you. Very impressed with you. If you can get, now, I'll be more impressed if we get back in easier. But yeah, if you really want to know what some like more traditional sounding like ska was, that's still in the revivalist camp, that's a great album to do. Right on time. I already did a short about this, so I'm going to talk about it very briefly. This is the worst album I own, by far. This album is awful in every single way, shape, and form. It is terrible. It's terrible in its messaging. It's terrible what it's about, and it's also terrible musically. And like, there's stuff in here that's just takes music theory and throws it out of the trash, but not in a good way. Not in a good way. Like, it's like, no, these are rules for you. You don't know how to break the rules, so you follow the rules. It's bad. And the people that are on here collaborating with it should know better. Like Chick Corea, I guess, actually did one of the worst songs on here. Or at least he's responsible for the arrangement. But L. Ron Hubbard wrote it. He should have been like, you can't put those notes in a row. They don't sound good at all. Anyways, Billy Idol, Rebel Yell. She cries more and more and more. Great. I don't think this has, this doesn't have a white wedding on. You should know. It's a nice day for, actually that's not. It's With a Rebel Yell. And I got a DeVita. This is something that I got from my dad a while ago because I was like, I really like this record. Can I keep it? And he's like, sure. So this is like one of the first records that I owned. Not the first record. The first record I owned, I don't have anymore. It's gone forever. I destroyed that one. Because I was like 5 years old. I didn't know I had no records. I wasn't destroying it, breaking it. I destroyed it by just playing it and just abusing it. But anyway, so this is a good record. Psychedelic rock. But again, this era of psychedelic rock leaves me wanting more. Briefly, Jesus Christ Superstar. I need to put this in a sleeve. I'll put this up here. Jesus Christ Superstar. I got this at a Goodwill. Super cheap. And it's the soundtrack to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Jesus Christ Superstar. Tom Jones. She's a lady. Yeah, she's a lady. Great. Tom Jones is great. You're wrong. I think it just might be, if you don't like it, you're wrong. I think I mostly just like it because, I lived in Vegas for a while. It's required listening, I guess. This is July. I think it's self-titled. Yeah, July. Never heard of this band at all. Record Store Day did a issue of this where they had a Sunburst re-release. They're going through like all these kind of unknown artists, whatever record labels is, major, minor. They're going through all of these kind of record or artists and just like reissuing stuff that they thought were good that just didn't get a fair shake at the time. And I didn't even get close to putting that in right. There we go. And this is fantastic. This is really good. I mean, again, it's still like early psychedelic rock, 60s psychedelic rock, so it's an artifact of the time. But for what it is, it's really good. I'm surprised that these guys didn't get a lot more play or notoriety because they deserved it. They were good. They kind of got shafted. Very underrated. But I will say this: neo psychedelic stuff now is a whole lot better. What else we got? Kavinsky. You might be familiar with this if you've seen the movie Drive starring Ryan Gosling. One of the tracks on here, I think it's Night Call, is like the opening track for the song when it's showing the city and giving the opening credits. Again, really great synthwave stuff. And in fact, very early on, a lot of people referred to synthwave as outrun because they didn't know it was called synthwave. Because of this album, this was so like legendary in the synthwave circle that even people outside of it were like, "Oh yeah, I love Outrun." Speaking of Outrun, this is Kung Fury. This not too long ago was one of the most expensive albums I got until I got reissued again. But this is fantastic, and it's got a. Okay, so this is a very short film. They raised money to make it a full-length film, and it didn't reach the goal, so they did the short version. I think it's only like 35 minutes long or something. Could be wrong. Something in that ballpark. Some in the 30-minute ballpark realm. Anyways, but it's a movie, like short film that's like very 80s kind of feelings. Got a lot of 80s kind of influence in it as well. And it's about like this cop who gets electrocuted and bit by a cobra at the same time and becomes a kung fu master. And he goes and fights Hitler, who is Kung Fuhrer. It's a goofy movie, and he has a sidekick. It's a Triceratops called Triceracop. It's goofy and it's wonderful. It's highly recommend you watch it. And if you need a good pitch for it, watch the music video for David Hasselhoff's True Survivor. And if that music video is basically an awesome trailer for the movie. And the soundtrack is awesome. It's got like Mitch Murder and all kinds of stuff. Here's another weird one. This is Kairu Pamu, who is a J-pop star who is not like a lot of J-pop stars. She's very kind of weird. I would kind of compare her to along the lines of like Lady Gaga, only even more weird. And she lets the weirdness kind of seep into her music as well. She always does like these weird, like interesting costumes. That are always kind of very cute, but like also like what? Like what even is this? I don't know. But it's cool. I really do like it. It's very cute sounding. It's very cute sounding, and the music videos aren't really very cute. They're just weird. Physical Graffiti, Led Zeppelin's best album. I don't have to say much about this. You should just know that it's their best album. And it's the original one. This is actually one that my dad had. And I was like, holy shit. He let me have it. Way, way early on when he kind of gave up on vinyl and I was just getting into it. Oh. Yeah, I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to show it to you. And yeah, it's a picture disc. It's kind of funny. There was actually and I wish I had picked it up. I had kicked myself because once I realized, like, you know what, I should get that. It was Aleister Crowley doing like weird, whatever magic shit he does. And it's just like audio of him like reading off like this whatever bullshit. I don't know. He's a fucking weirdo. And then when I went back to go get it, it was gone, and they weren't selling it anymore, so I don't have it. Will you get off my nuts hoe? Off my nuts hoe. Thank you. Madness, more ska. But this is two-tone ska. This is like the British kind of stuff that came out during the 80s, and it was very popular there. Kind of leaked over here a little bit. You kind of got like glimmers of it here and there. I believe some Madness songs were in movies. I think most notably, Two-Tone, not them, but the band called The English Beat had a song called March of the Swivelheads, which was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And this is a great era. This is a really great era of ska. It's definitely better than the Third Wave for sure, even though there's stuff in Third Wave I like better than anything else in there. But overall, I don't think there is a bad two-tone group. Can't say that about Third Wave because there's some bad Third Wave ska bands. I'm looking at you, Jeffrey's fan club. But yeah, this is good. This is just a collection. It's another one of those. It's one of those very few greatest hits albums that I have. Oh, yeah, okay. This is where we left off when I did these videos on my main channel, and I took them down because I realized, like, I should focus this channel completely on this, make a separate channel for vinyl and that sort of thing. So here we are. The Mars Volta, Deloused in the Comatorium. In fact, this is the album cover that they, I think it's actually, this is the way they wanted it. This is the album cover that they really wanted. This is the album cover that I use, even though I think I like this version better. I know it's a very unpopular opinion. I like this version better. This is the music on vinyl re-release of it, and I remember when this came out, the Mars Volta were fucking throwing a hissy fit because it's not true and it's like knockoff, it's bootleg. And it's like, no, they got approval from your label. They're using the original masters and everything, so now it's fine. I remember I sent like music on vinyl, or not the music on vinyl, but the person who was selling this, I was like, I sent him like, oh, cancel my order, fuck you. And then like the next message, I was like, after I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay, they were wrong. Apologized and like, don't worry, we're cool. But yeah, but this is a good version. It's just as fine as the original release. It's mastered just as well as the other ones. This is their debut album. This is the album that I first listened to in the Mars Volta, and I remember it vividly. I was working for Chemdry, and it was a Sunday because I wasn't working that day, and I had the van at my house, and my buddy called me up because I definitely was not selling CDs illegally with my CD burner. I was definitely not doing that because that'd be illegal and therefore wrong to do. But my friend said, if you know a guy who happens to burn CDs for money, could you please get him to burn me a copy of this album and burn yourself one and listen to it yourself because you're going to love it. It's going to be the best album or the best band you've ever heard of in your entire life. And I said, that's a tall order, but okay. So threw it on in the car, drove down there. I got to like, I think I got to the third song. And I was like, this is horse shit. This is awful. Like, why would you tell me this is good? And he was like, dude, come on. Dude, just keep listening to it. Trust me. And I was like, all right. So hung out for a little bit. Went home. Listened to the rest of the record. Called them by the time I got home. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. This album is great. Started it from the beginning, listened to the whole way, and had a deeper appreciation. But at first glance, I know a lot of people who told me similar stories that, oh, I hated the Mars Volta. I heard them, and they were terrible. And then I actually sat down and listened to them. Gave them a fair shot, and holy crap, was I wrong. Yeah, this is definitely one of those bands that does that. It takes a second for you to really understand their genius. This one comes with the poster. I forgot it came with a poster. Artwork and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I don't, what's the point of opening it? Whatever. It's the Mars Volta. It's their debut album. This is a really great album. If you've never heard the Mars Volta, this is where to start. Undeniably, where to start. If I can just get this back in the case, that'd be fantastic. So these older, oh jeez, these older ones that I have, if they're a bigger album, it barely fits. I mean, just barely. Oh, I got one that's kind of fell in the back, so we're going to go back a step real quick. This is Mannheim Steamroller Christmas. I listened to this on Christmas because that's what I listened to when I was a kid. On Christmas, my mom would put the CD on, and so I saw it in a used record store, and I was like, I got to get this. And so I played it on Christmas. The end. All right, back to the Mars Volta. That matter. Their best album. But I do recommend, if you have never listened to them, listen to Delouse first. But it's also really good. This also has the Endless Groove. You'll notice that, like in the original CD and MP3s or whatever streaming, you'll hear like this part that kind of like loops. That's supposed to be emulating the endless groove that exists on all of these records. There's a groove that just keeps spinning forever and ever and ever if you don't have an automated system. Which I just got an unautomated record player because my old one was automated, just so I can hear like endless grooves and stuff. And also, it's a better record player than my old one. But this is a fantastic record. I have nothing but great things to say. It's a 10. It's a 10. It's a 10. This album is also really good. It's not nearly as good as the other ones, but it's also really good. It seems a little less focused. This one actually is the first one that doesn't have a story. I mean, in terms of like the lyrics, having a story, like there's a story behind this album. There's a story behind every one of their albums. But this one, except for not turning it, this one actually does not have a story. It just has a general theme, and a lot of the theme is about religion and organized religion being bad, but still believing in God and that sort of thing. Tetragrammaton is probably one of my favorite Mars Volta songs, and it's on here as well. Very underrated album in their collection. This is one I think it's a little overrated, but it's still a really good album. I think it's way too Way too aggressive. There's no breathing room in here. And this is the original pressing of it. Now, I'll show you. I'll show you. This is the original pressing of it, which you won't get this in the new versions. Okay. Whoa. You won't get this in the new versions, but so here's what it is. Back. Center. It's a Ouija board. And the records themselves are on black and red vinyl. Look gorgeous. But because this album was very much inspired by them having bad experiences with Ouija, like a spirit board, Ouija board. The theme of this is very much a Ouija board, and it comes with a single that's basically a picture disc that's a planchette. So you could use it as a spirit board if you wanted to. You could. But yeah. That version is new. The new versions actually don't come like that. You know, the new versions are just they just come like a little 10-inch record, but they and I think it comes out with a cutout planchette so that you can use or something. I don't know. My version's more gooder than your version. This is also a really great record. Very underrated. Everybody says at the time that it was their worst record. It's not. It's one of their better ones. And for a while, this actually was my favorite Mars Volta album. Octahedron. There we go. It doesn't say it on there. It doesn't say it, I swear. That was all off the top of my head, y'all. Took me a second, though. It's a lot slower, but Cotopaxi is a great song. Teflon is a great song. Man, and those get a little rough. But there's also some slower songs on here that are as good as well. Twilight Is My Guide is a great song. Yeah. Desperate Graves is also a great song. Highly recommend you check this out. If you've listened to the Mars Volta and you haven't listened to it for a while and you're like, oh yeah, that's a crappy... No, give it another chance. Sit down and give it another chance. Hubby Me. It's great. This is also a really great album. I don't know why it's like... Oh, it's right there. Let's see. So this is Nocturnicate. There we go. Okay. Came with the poster, and I used to have this poster up on my wall. I'm careful not to rip it. So I can't even see if I'm showing you right. Or whatever. Came with the poster. Also, it comes with... Oh, there it is. Comes with 3D glasses. Oh, so I can look at the lyric sheet, which is also in 3D. So there's 3D stuff on there. There's also some 3D pictures on there. Some 3D artwork. 3D photo of the band. And yeah, it works. Yep, they're in 3D. Go find it. And again, this is the original pressing, which means that... Here, let's put this away. It's on blue, and yeah, the other one's yellow. But it has like these square labels on it that I've never seen before, and because of that, it doesn't have one of those grooves that goes to the center to tell your automated system that it's done playing. So it'll just loop on a silent track. They didn't do the same thing like they did with the other albums with endless grooves, which Ambitexture does have. So let's put this back in there too. I might as well keep it in there. Keep it secret. Keep it safe. So yeah, that rounds out my Mars Volta album. I'm not really interested in getting their newer stuff on. It's not bad. It's just not good. It's just not good. It doesn't hit like Mars Volta at all. Production suffers. Songwriting is not their best. It just feels more like a Cedric collab on an Omar Rodriguez solo album. That's what it sounds like to me, and I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. I think I originally gave that. I think I did a text review where I was like mocking Fantano, but I ended up giving it like a 6, and I think Fantano gave it like the same score like later. So that's funny. Anyways, so yeah, Band on the Run. It's okay. I'm not a big fan of Paul McCartney's stuff after the Beatles. If you want to listen to some really good hardcore punk, Smoke Signals by MDC, Millions of Dead Cops, fantastic hardcore record, fantastic. Highly recommend it if you like hardcore punk. I'm not super into hardcore punk, but this is good. Yeah, that was a record store day thing too. Of the big four thrash bands, and I know there's problems with all of them. I think the only one that doesn't have problems was like Slayer. I think Slayer's been consistent the whole time. But my favorite, even if you just look at the stuff that they did that was good, I think I like the stuff that was good that came out of Megadeth more than the other four. So I got this one, which is a masterpiece. This album is a fucking masterpiece. Rust in Peace is a masterpiece. Rust in Peace, masterpiece. Okay? Then I would go Slayer, Metallica, and then Anthrax. I'm not a big fan of Anthrax at all. But this is great. This is the fantastic from front to end. 10. I think I'm losing my voice. That just means I gotta go harder. Here's my favorite cover band, Me First and Gimme Gimmes. I need to get more Me First. This is Me First and Gimme Gimmes. This is a limited pink vinyl, and this, I guess, money allegedly went to charities that only really do things like make things pink. And I'm thinking the actual money goes to actual cancer research. There's a lot of, but it's this really neat kind of pink record. Yeah, a lot of these, I'm not sure. They could have actually gone to actual cancer research, but I know that a lot of like these breast cancer charities are kind of phony. So I don't know if they gave it to something phony or not. I don't want to accuse them of anything. But this is a great album. It's not their best. Not their worst. It's fantastic. Are We Not Men? We Are Diva. They're kind of going... Every album has like a different theme. So they had one that was like... It was all like show tunes. They had one that was like all black artists. They had ones that were like 60s. They had one that was like 70s. They had a country album. And this is their Divas. Which I think is funny considering that one of the songs is from Culture Club or Boy George. This is a very underrated psychedelic rock group. Melody's Echo Chamber. This is the only one I have from her. I think her follow-up one wasn't that good. Then she released recently, I wanted to get this one. She released two albums at the same time. One was like unused tracks from this album and then like a new album. And they're both great. They're really going back to psychedelic rock. But this is actually produced by Kevin Parker of Tame Impala. And just go listen to Crystallized. I Follow You. They're fantastic. This is a fantastic psychedelic rock record. They're a French band. The guitarist ended up leaving and starting his own band called Moodoid, which I have a little bit of their stuff too, and we'll get to that when we get there. All right, so we've already covered this. I did a whole video about Mephistopheles. This is God Bless Satan. God Bless Satan. Then we got Maximum Perversion. This one actually is... All right, I guess... So God Bless Satan's on red vinyl. Maximum Perversion, I believe originally was on orange vinyl. I don't know what this one is. I think it might be red too. This one's white, obviously. Maite Waite. We got the self-titled album. We already showed you the new EP. But, yep, fantastic. Highly recommend it. Did a whole video about it. I'll link it in the description below on my main channel. We did a whole video about satanic ska. This is another Walmart exclusive, red vinyl, whatever. Master Puppets, by far the best Metallica album. I think it's up for debate. It's their best album. And if you say it's a Black Album, you're wrong. And it's not to say the Black Album is bad. I think it's a fine album. It's a fine album. It's just, it's not their best. It's their best produced. I will say that. It's their best produced album. Rob Rock knows it. I think his name's Rob Rock. Bob Rock. There we go. Bob Rock's, well, I guess Rob, whatever. My advice. I saw this and I got it because it's 80s and it has In the Air Tonight. That's all I have to say about that. Oh, I got to talk about these two at the same time. So this is Misfits Collection 1 and 2. I think this is the best way to listen to the Misfits rather than listening to the albums and EPs and stuff. This basically has everything that Danzig did with them, and they're great. And it's all like the best stuff. And then after you listen to this, then you can listen to stuff like Earth AD and stuff. But this kind of hits my Misfits cravings. I guess it's technically best of, but it's more like everything of. But yeah, it's great. All right, what do we got? This is Moodoid. This is what we talked about earlier. Melodies, Echo Chambers guitarist started his own band, Moodoid. It's very kind of psychedelic, kind of, I wouldn't even say like psych rock. It's definitely in the psychedelic realm, but it's definitely going for its own sound. It's very different. I also have some 7 inches. We get into this 7 and 10-inch stuff later down the line after all this stuff. So, but we have some of his other stuff. This is them kind of going in a direction I'm not a big fan of, but it's still good. Moodoid. But it's all in French. It's all in French. What we got here? The Monkees. I don't think I've ever listened to this. I really need to give the Monkees a fair shake. It's not that I don't like the Monkees. I do like the Monkees. I just don't think I've ever heard this one. Was this the one where they were writing their own stuff yet, or no? I'll have to check. I don't know. Seems very psychedelic. It might be their own doings. This isn't my favorite. At least my favorite Coen brothers of that era. There's other Coen. I think Fargo might be a better movie. So toss it between this one and Fargo for me, in terms of best Coen brothers movies. I do like it more than Big Lebowski. Not to say the Big Lebowski's bad, but Oh Brother Where Art Thou, I do like a whole lot better. And this has a bunch of like old-timey country western stuff. Very early 2000s, 2000s, excuse me, early 20th century, 1900s, like old-timey country westerns. Fantastic stuff. And a couple of new songs that was written by someone. Yeah, I don't think it says on here. It doesn't say on that thing. I think I have to open it up and, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Constant Sorrow. Of course, you know that song. In the jailhouse now. Those are the new 2 songs. And then, of course, you got like Big Rock Candy Mountain. You got I'll Fly Away. You got You're My Sunshine. Old standards. A lot of them are actual old tracks, or only 2 new songs. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. This is the Muppet Movie soundtrack. I used to watch this all the time when I was a kid. All the time. All the time. So, of course, during Record Store Day, I picked up the exclusive re-release of this album on Max. I don't know if it comes... That's a good question. Does it come on any kind of funky vinyl colors? No, it's just black. $180 grams, that's for sure. No, it's not. I don't think it is. Anyways, yeah. It's got stills from the movie. Neat. Good movie. I think it might be the best Muppet movie. The best Muppet movie is the Muppet movie. And there's also some ones that are also really good too. Could you just please just get in there? I'm so glad I got these new ones. They're way thicker. They're way thicker and they're way bigger too. Loosier, the baggier. This is my favorite NoFX album. I need to get more NoFX albums, but I have my favorite, so I have no really inspiration to get more because it's so good. The War on Errorism. I might actually do a, yeah, that's, oh, did I? Hold on a second. It's been a while since I played this. No, I didn't. I was wondering. I lost my, I had a poster that was signed by El Jefe. It's gone now. It's gone forever. I think I left it in my old apartment. But I thought I had taped. Oh, I remember. No. It got destroyed. Sorry. It got destroyed. But this did survive. It was taped on it. This was a pic that I caught during the Rock Against Bush tour when I saw them. And he flicked a bunch of pics out in the audience. And I caught one. Fantastic record. I might actually do a video about the politics behind it, but when I do, it's going to be very, it's going to be unopinionated. Like, I'm not going to give my opinions on it. I'm just going to give you straightforward facts about the era and help people understand it, because that was a very weird time in politics. And if you go back and listen to it, you're going to be like, oh, it's just people who don't like Bush. Like, no, there's other stuff to talk about. I think that's kind of important. It's actually on one of my list of things to do. This is Oingo Boingo. I shouldn't have to say much about Oingo Boingo. This is not their best album. I need to get Only a Lad. But this is also really great, too. I actually bought this album because I thought it had Little Girls on it, which I thought was a funny song. But then I took it home and realized that it's Little Guns, not Little Girls. So I was like, oh well, still a good album, though. Still a good album. Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. A former ska band. A former ska band. That's not ska, though. This is the album that changed my life in 6th grade. Changed my life. This is the Offspring Smash. This was, for at one time, a Holy Grail. Also, some other Holy Grails that I forgot to mention that were in here. Actually, no, I think there's only one Holy Grail. Yeah, we haven't got to the Holy Grails yet, except for one. Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band, crazy expensive record, was re-released for Record Store Day, and then some other thing if you were like a member of Jack White's record company's fucking thing or whatever, I don't know. But I got that. This was the Holy Grail. This got re-released. Happy about that. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. This album is a 10. Their best record by far. The earlier stuff is also really good. The album after this one, NXA and the Hombre, is okay, but you can kind of see that they're kind of going a little bit more, kind of more poppy in their punk. And then by their next album, they were just kind of all in on that kind of pop sound, which I was not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of later Offspring stuff. But this, 10. This album changed my life as a kid. Changed my life for the better. Album's also a 10. Operation Ivy Energy. This is actually just a master of all of their singles and EPs all in one. That's great. Ska punk. And this is like Gilman Street ska punk. So you're not going to get a horn section or anything because they're not going to fit inside that small stage. It's just what you consider of a normal band, which is a singer, bass player, guitarist, drummer. That's it. And it's very distorted, very energetic, very energy. Yeah. Sorry, my ran out of space on my on my camera. Trying again. So yeah, a lot of the members of these, actually, I think just one or two. I know Tim for sure. Tim Armstrong left and started Rancid, which I'm not a big fan of, but this is an amazing record. Highly recommend it. Very, very, very punky. Very punky ska. Real quick, I already opened this one up because I was still recording. I thought it was still recording, but it wasn't. Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy Osbourne. It's a picture disc, so it doesn't sound as good, but I wanted it as a picture disc. At some point I might pick up some more Aussie stuff on actual records, but I don't think I had any LPs that were picture disc when I picked this up. This was very early on when I started picking back up more vinyls and stuff. Dark Side of the Moon. Now we're getting into another one of my favorite bands. Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Don't have to say much about this. It's one of the greatest selling records of all time. It's great. Everybody gives it shit, and they're wrong. It's a great album. It's not their best. I will agree it's not their best, but it is one of their best. It is great. And yeah, I know you're just so edgy, saying bad things about Dark Side of the Moon, whatever. This is the better album. This is much better. This is so much better. This is a vast improvement. I don't have Wish You Were Here. Need to get on that train. But for now, fantastic record, Animals. Though there's not much possibility for we get a single out of this one. So it kind of got relegated to being the lost album. This is also the album that inspired Roger Waters to write The Wall, because I think either he said that or someone mentioned it to Waters that, man, I wish there was a wall between us and the audience, because the audience was during one of their shows that were like lighting off fireworks and stuff, and there's a rant where he is yelling at the audience. But yeah, I need to actually pick up these two albums, like the remastered versions, or at least not this one. I'm fine with this version. Pink Floyd's The Wall. I will say that this is not their best album. It's not bad. There's a lot of filler in here. And there's a lot of filler in here. And I don't mean, and not to say that I do appreciate filler in some of the other albums you see me talk about. There's definitely some filler in Embryonic, don't get me wrong. But there's just a lot in here. And some of it is just, don't need it. And we put Vera on here, but took off When the Tigers Broke Free. What was the decision behind that? I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot of weird decisions being made with this record. Some of their best songs, Hey You, Comfortably Numb, probably two of their greatest songs. But, stuck on our record, it's not their best. It's definitely in their class, one of their groupings of the best. After this, it goes all downhill for Pink Floyd. So this is a really interesting album. We're going to get into the band that this is very much involved with. I always talk about these guys as the same band, because for a while they were. Pond was originally made up of everybody that was in the original lineup of Tame Impala minus one or two people, but Kevin Smith, God, I don't know, Kevin Parker, there we go. Kevin Parker was their drummer for a while. So basically, I consider this like the same band, but this is Tame Impala. But this is, Man, It Feels Like Space Again. And they kind of are definitely going for like a Cheap Trick type of vibe here. And you pull that out, and it's got more artwork. It's kind of holes in it. Kind of neat. It's a really great record. I highly recommend listening to this one. Zond is an amazing song. And the music video for it is, what? What am I even looking at? Okay. I think it's the only Pond one that I have. But anyway. Oh, here's a great band. I really need to get Dummy, but this is Portishead's self-titled. Fantastic record on its own, too. It's not as good as Dummy, but holy shit is this album great. Cowboys, oh my god. I remember there was a while that me and all my friends were like obsessed with this band. It lasted for a whole year. Like we were constantly listening to Portishead. Then they released this album and disappeared. And it's not their best. The first song on here is amazing. A couple of the songs on here that are okay. But it's kind of weird that they just left us with this and then disappeared. I don't know if they made anything else. I think they have not. As far as I know, this was their last run. Yeah, Third was not their best. But Silence was good. Silence was a good song. Still definitely one of the songs I put on a lot. Silence, that is. we're this far in the video. I'm going to give you a little preview into what's to come. I'm not going to spell it out, what it's actually going to be about, but it's definitely going to be involving this band quite a bit. And that is the presidents of the United States of America. The presidents of the United States of America were kind of an anomaly. People think that they were a one-hit wonder. They were not. They were very much not. They had 2 hits. People remember them for Peaches, but their bigger hit single was Lump. Just everybody forgot that one. They also had another hit, Mach 5, which didn't do nearly as well as the other ones. But people only remember them for Peaches. And people don't really know this about them. But the presidents of the United States of America were like an anomaly. They were a big fan of Nick Sandman's band Morphine, which I just started getting into Morphine. I don't have any Morphine records. I need to fix that. But I only found out about them through these guys. Presidents of the United States of America, people just remember them as just a weird, quirky band. But they had some other quirks that people weren't really completely aware of. First of all, their bass player only had 2 strings on his bass. And it really wasn't even a bass. It was a guitar with bass strings on it called a bass guitar. And if I remember correctly... Oh, here. And the guitarist only played a 3-string guitar called a guitar bass. And they were both... The guitar was tuned in DAD. And the bass guitar, or bass guitar? Yeah, actually, I was getting confused in my head. The bass guitar was always was tuned in C fifth, so it would be was it C? I don't remember. E? No, CD. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, so yeah, 2 and 3 string, and their originally their kit only had the drum kit only had a floor tom, a kick drum, a snare, a hi-hat, a couple of cowbells, and a splash. It's a very small cymbal that just goes splash, and that's it. It doesn't ring or anything. Later, they ended up getting a ride. I remember seeing like some of their live performances where he had a ride. But yeah, it was just like a really weird, like 5, if you don't count the cowbells, 5-piece drum kit. And they made some really amazing amazing music off just that really limited thing. Kind of made me more interested in possibly picking up a bass guitar. I'm just gonna leave it there. But this is an amazing record. Every song on here is just fucking fantastic. This is a relic of my junior high school days, and I remember being obsessed with this album because it was so good. And it really wasn't until like years later that I realized, like, oh no, they had a limited. And I'm actually no, it was during junior high, but it was like a year after this album came out. My friend had a Presidents of the United States of America T-shirt, and he had and had like a little stick figure drawings of them. And I remember there was like only 2 strings or something on one of the guitars, and I was in this drawing. And I remember looking at it, and I was like, oh, you only got like a couple strings on the guitars or whatever. Just offhand comment or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, because they do. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, they only have like 2 or 3 strings on their guitars in real life too. I was like, really? And I started looking in more into it. Like, yeah, they had a small drum kit too. And I was like, I never noticed that. That makes them even cooler in my head. And they are cool. They are very cool. The Presidents of the United States of America. Self-titled album, very much to give it a listen. Their follow-up albums, I have not been the biggest fan of them. Maybe I should go through and listen again. But yeah. I spent way too much time on them. They're so good. The album's a 10 for sure. This album is also a 10. Frizzle Fry, Primus. Another one of my favorite bands of all time. Primus sucks. Les Claypool is one of the best bass players living. In terms of innovation, this guy is like, he pioneered some amazing sounds in the bass that I had never heard anybody before do. At least not in the way he does it. His style is so unique that even when he's in other bands, or he's playing with other bands, or he's doing other projects that are a different genre than funk metal. Actually, this is just a ripoff of King Crimson's Disciple era stuff. it's still distinctive. Like you could still be like, that's Les Claypool. Just his way of styling is very percussive. It's almost like it doesn't need a drum kit to follow it, but it does in Primus, and it's great when it does. This is their best record. Actually, I don't know. I'm always tossed up between this one and this one. Sailing the Seas of Cheese. This is on 200 gram vinyl. It's not yellow, in case you were wondering. There was a couple of yellow versions of this record when it came out. This is the deluxe edition, which Les Claypool remastered himself. Where's the open? Oh, there it is. Where's the opening? Yeah, it's just a black vinyl, but it's a plate. You can't bend this. You can't even flex it a little bit. Anyways, yes, it's an amazing record. I don't know. I can't choose. I can't choose between this and Frizzle Fry. I really can't. They're so great. Both of them are just mwah, chef's kiss. Both are 10s. Both are 10s. Actually, you know what? I would say that Sailing Seas of Cheese is a little bit more lull, moments of lull in them. But still amazing. Still 10. Wow. I don't know. Yeah. It's a toss-up. Yeah, it's a big toss-up for me. Quick. Now, I forgot to mention it again because I had already recorded some of these vinyl records. Anyways, quick soundtrack, Nine Inch Nails. This game I was like obsessed with in junior high. I was playing it constantly. And what's weird is I didn't mention this. I should have mentioned it. That Quake, when I played this, it had when I played it, I didn't put this CD in most of the time. I would put Alice in Chains Unplugged in. So when I listen to Alice in Chains Unplugged, I think of this game. But by the time it started becoming like Team Fortress and stuff, and I was playing that, then I would put this one in. So I still recognize this vividly as Quake. These feel thick. 180 gram. Okay. Yeah. Really a great soundtrack to a video game, but this is not like it's got one like song. The other ones are almost like very atmospheric, creepy vibe. The game is very much kind of in the same vein as like Lovecraft. It's very Lovecraftian in its tone, and it just that soundtrack just bleeds Lovecraft, like you're definitely in like a Lovecraftian nightmare. Amazing game. It just recently re-released it. I might have to get a new thing for this. It's too tight. They just recently released it like a couple years ago, and then Quake 2 the year after that. I'm hoping that Quake 3 or QuakeCon will lead us to a Arena, a re-release of Arena. But anyways, fantastic. And this was a very limited edition. I think this was actually a re-release of a limited edition that I got. So they had already released it once. This album, however, is a 10. It's Queen of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf. Can't even hear them. Now, if you go and listen to this album, I own the CD version of this. If you press play on it, it would lead you to the first song, which is, you think I ain't worth $1, but I feel like a millionaire. That's the way it played. It sounded like when you first started it, it just sounds like a car starting. But if you press play on it and it starts playing the first track, and if you hit back a track or back 2 tracks, it'll take you to the last track, depending on your CD player, or play the first track again. But if you hold the rewind button, like the cue back, you can actually hear, like it'll actually rewind to whatever, and you can actually hear a song for the deaf, which is just a lot of rhythms. But when you listen to it on streaming, that's what you hear. That's what you hear for like a good 3 minutes. So I think a lot of people like will go, oh, let's go check this album out. Like, what the fuck is this noise? Skip to the next track. That bit was a joke, and there's no way to put like there's like a hidden song at the end of an album. There's no real good way of doing like a hidden song at the beginning of the album that's not even really supposed to be a song. It's just supposed to be a shit post. But man, this album just fucking wall to wall bangers. No One Knows, Go with the Flow. Oh my god, and jeez, and it starts off like, and it is kind of a concept album, is that like you're kind of changing the channels on a radio station to listen to kind of different versions of Queens of the Stone Age. He still comes off with that kind of robotic rock. It almost sounds like a robot kind of marching down the street, loudly crushing everything underneath it. But there's like a death metal version of it, or actually more like black metal, the first track. But it's very Queens of the Stone Age, black metal. Sky is Falling, everything. Go with the Flow, Is Gonna Leave You. Oh man, just Dave Grohl on drums. This was a holy grail. This was another holy grail. And this was almost impossible to find. It was re-released. Thank God it did, because these were going for crazy money, and for good reason. There's another album we need to get. I don't have. You already know, it's like clockwork. I got this one. I thought this was okay. Everyone hated on this album. I thought it was okay. It was okay. It was kind of mixed weird, but it was okay. Okay. That's all I got to say about that one. But I do need to get like clockwork. This is my favorite band of all time. And we're going to spend a lot of time here because I have a lot of stuff from them. The Residents. This is Meet the Residents. This is their first LP. This was after the success of Santa Dog, which was not a success. No time have they ever been a really success. We had a hit t-shirt, and that's about it. There's a really great documentary about them that explains them. But basically, the gist of this band is they're an anonymous band. They originally were from Lafayette, Louisiana. They came over to San Francisco in the 60s, during the kind of height of the Civil War stuff. Or Civil War, excuse me. Civil rights stuff that was happening in Louisiana. So they moved to San Francisco, and they thought they were going to hang out with a bunch of hippies because they seemed like really cool people. And when they got there, they realized that, no, they were shitty. They sucked. So they kind of did their own thing. And they were very much involved with the arts and stuff, and so they were doing a lot of trying to do film. Their first film failed, but they figured out very quickly that film is very difficult to make, whereas they had the stuff to do audio, to record music, so they just started recording music. And they had no understanding of how music is done, and in fact, they had a rule of just saying, don't try to emulate or do things that you've learned from other things. Do your own thing. And even when they brought on other musicians, they were like, come up with your own scales, come up with your own keys, and come up with your own time signatures and all that stuff. Do stuff that you can do, that you made yourself, rather. They also worked with a guy named Snakefinger, who went on to do some solo records himself, which were all great, which I can't find on vinyl at a reasonable price, but I need to start digging again because Snakefinger is also great. So they started out kind of doing kind of like trolling, I guess is the best way. Like they had like the best way to describe it. They had like this club where like all the wannabe Bob Dylans would come and try to be Bob Dylan, do folk stuff, and they came on and they did this really wacky, bizarre thing where they're playing the saxophone like Captain Beefheart and just screaming and making all kinds of noise and having a beautiful singer singing on top of all of it, and people didn't know what to make of it. And so they figured, since we didn't get booze and we didn't get applause, we must be onto something. We recorded an album called they sent it off. They didn't have a name because they kept wanting to be anonymous, and so they sent it to Warner Brothers because that's how they heard Captain Beefheart got a deal. But by then they were like, we can't, for insurance reasons, take unsolicited things. So they sent it back, and when they sent it back, it said to the residents of that address. So they're like, oh, cool. We'll be the residents. And they abide by the strict code of anonymity, and the idea behind it is that an artist can create true art if they're separated from any criticism. So as long as the criticism isn't being labeled at them, it's just leveled at this anonymous group called the Residents, they can go and create pure art. I don't know if that's entirely true. It just seems like a nice little gimmick that they were doing. And for the most part, for most people, unless you're like a diehard fan, they don't know who the Residents are. It doesn't take that much digging to find out who they are. One of them had just passed away not too long ago of leukemia. And before he died, he announced that he was like their main songwriter. And his name was Hardy Fox, excuse me. His name was Hardy Fox. He died of leukemia. He was their main songwriter. And so, yeah. But this was their first record, and it's also really good. I think it's a good kind of toe in the water to see if you like the Residents. It's definitely they're definitely not their most accessible. This one's a little bit more accessible. If you want to dive into something that's a little bit that you know that it's not going to be as weird as their other stuff. It is a little bit weird. Story behind this one is they recorded this album before they recorded their next album, but this came out after the next album, which I'm not going to mention by name. I'm not going to mention it by name. I'll show it to you, but I'm not going to mention it by name because YouTube will pick up on that. But they recorded this after that one, and the idea was we're going to put it away until we forget. It didn't take very long for them to forget. It took them one album before they realized, oh yeah, that's right, we have that album. Let's release it since we remembered it. The promise was they weren't going to release it until they forgot about it. So this is it. This is not available. So technically this is their second album, released fourth. And it's also really good. More accessible than some of their other stuff. No, that's not right. It's out of order. Unacceptable, Jim. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. There we go. Now it's in order again. Fixed. This is their third album. And it's called That. And yes, that is Dick Clark and you'll see little faces on top of these couples dancing, and he's holding a carrot. And the idea behind this was to say that radio and like the pop of the 60s was very much kind of like because of the way, the uniformity that it was, and they kind of wanted to shake things up. Though this came out in the early 70s, by then you started getting some more interesting stuff going on in rock, but they still wanted to make a statement about the pop rock that was still existing at the time and was kind of fading away. They kind of wanted to make a statement about it. They actually did get a little bit of a trouble, sort of, not really, because you got to remember, in this time, when this came out, people weren't so much like afraid of this because the Neos hadn't came around yet, and for the most part, they were regarded as a joke because they had already lost the war. They were not a big threat anymore, so they set up this, or they had like some record store nearby set up a little promotional booth for them to promote this album, and had a little hanging around and stuff. And some people complained about it, but most people got it. But yeah, it was a very different time. It was a very different time, and yeah. Anyways, this is their best album. It's their least accessible album by far. Duck Stab, but there's actually a collection of 2 EPs, which is Duck Stab and Buster and Glenn, but it is known as Duck Stab. This is almost impossible to listen to, and if you're just stepping into it, you're gonna be thinking that this. I think Les Claypool had said that it sounds like what they play in Hell. I disagree. You're gonna hear Slayer in Hell, but yeah, it's a great record. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite of theirs. I think the other two that I liked more than their other records, Under This, far more accessible, which I don't own. So I'm going to mention them here. Demons Dance Alone, but I think Animal Lover is their best record. And then they have a live record called Marching to the Sea, which is the show that I saw them, which is their 40th anniversary tour. All right, but by the way, if they ever come up with that on vinyl, I'm buying that. The 40th anniversary or Marching to the Sea, if they ever come out with that on vinyl, I'm buying the shit out of it. But they haven't yet, so this is their most iconic one. This is the one that people bought it, just because of the cover is so cool. Just look at it. And this is when we get the first glimpse of the eyeball and top hat moniker that they've gone through. And the idea was every iteration of themselves, they would have like a new kind of presentation that they would present. So with the first one was very much supposed to be like a Beatles with weird faces. The third one, or the second one wasn't released. They just dumped that out. The third one, they were much more going for like a they made like these news costumes made out of newspaper costumes. And this one they decided to spend a little bit more money and have like little costumes with eyeballs and top hats. And originally the idea was to have mirrored, but everybody said it would be too hard to wear and you couldn't breathe in them and everything. So they set on the eyeballs, and I think the eyeballs were a better choice, much more recognizable. There is definitely kind of like a weird, like Twilight Zone science fiction type of vibe to that kind of look. And because this was such an iconic photo and everybody were buying this album just because it was, so weird on the cover, they decided that at least the Cryptic Corporation, the company that handles all of the residents' day-to-day operations and stuff, so that they can remain in anonymity, decided that they needed something that's a little bit more marketable, and this is marketable, much to their chagrin. So goes the story. This is not really music. This is just a lot of ambient stuff. But you do get kind of like these chantings of, this is called Eskimo, by the way. Eskimo is, it's a different album. It's more of an experience, rather than an album of music. You do get like some Inuit chantings and stuff like that. And a lot of kind of like snowy weather. This is an interesting listen, by the way. Would recommend, but just remember, it's more of an ambient album. Before ambient albums were a thing. This was their first concert series that they did called Mark of the Mall. Mark of the Mall. They did a show called The Mall Show, where they did these songs live and had like actors and dancers and singers come out, and I think I got some coffee or something on here, on the plastic. That's fine. And they also hired Penn Jillette to do the narration for the show, since they didn't want to talk, whatever. So they did the narration for the show, and on the album, he speaks as the weather person. So anytime you hear like a weather alert on this album, you're hearing Penn Jillette talk. And because he's the only known member at the time that I got this signed, I didn't want people just to scribble on it, even if I didn't know who they were. I just wanted people who knew who they were to sign it. But you can barely see it. But Penn Jillette did sign it, and that's how he signed stuff, just weird kind of scribbles and a swipe. So yeah, Penn Jillette did sign this. Penn Jillette would, actually I should say, the reason how I saw him was every year they would do this blood drive in Las Vegas, where I used to live, at the last 13 days of the year, 13 bloody days of Christmas. And if you donated blood or platelets or whatever, plasma, then you would get tickets to go see Penn and Teller. And they would also hang out after the show and talk to everybody who wanted to talk to them. And of course, I went there with just the case. I didn't bring the whole record, and I had him sign it. And yeah, it was kind of neat meeting him. And he told me Sent to Dogs with Jesus Fetus, which we'll get to that in just a bit. So this is Intermission. This is a Record Store Day exclusive re-release. These were like the kind of songs that were like not really a part of the Mole Show, or they were part of the Mole Show, but not really part of the album. More like kind of more melodies and stuff that kind of floated throughout like the intermissions and between songs when they were setting up props and stuff. That's what they would play when they were getting ready for the next bit. Interesting stuff. It also has the most iconic Mole song on here, which is Marching to the Sea. Anyways, this is The Residents. Stars in Hank Forever. Allegedly, this was their first hit single. I cannot find any information that says that that's true. But apparently, it was very popular in clubs. I heard. As far as sales goes, no. But in terms of like being played at clubs, it was very popular. Coliga. Basically, the first side of this record is all covers of Hank Williams. And then the back cover is just one big piece kind of covering various movements and songs of John Philip Sousa. The front side is great. The back side is meh, as you would expect. They did another one with James Brown, and I forget who else, and it just wasn't good. But this front side was good. The back side is meh. But Coliga is a great song. Hey, but these are very weird takes. Mind you, The Residents is very avant-garde, kind of weird, kind of experimental music that's very unpalatable to newbies. I think this might be the last one. Yeah, it's the last one. Last Resident. God in Three Persons. This is the instrumental version, or the soundtrack. Oh yeah, it's an instrumental. Muzak version. Okay, this is a Muzak version. The soundtrack to a movie that didn't exist, but now there is a play that does exist that's based on this music. So yeah, the Residents are a very weird group, and I'm so glad I got to see them before Hardy Fox passed away. So, all right, so moving on from my favorite band of all time. What do I... Big Iron. What do I need to say? Big Iron. Big Iron. It's great. Big Iron. Marty Robbins, Big Iron. Don't need to say much about this either. 40th anniversary. On red vinyl. What kind of red are we talking? We're talking translucent red? Are we talking about opaque red? Are we talking about a little bit, maybe a little above? Maybe a little swirl above? Maybe a little swirl above? Oh yeah, it's red. It's just clear. Almost clear red. Quasi translucent. Yeah, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you have not seen it, missing out. I'm not going to say I'm a huge fan of musicals. I do like musicals. Now that we got Book of Mormon and Jesus Christ Superstar. Oh, and Muppet movie. Was there any others? That might have been my only ones. But yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Fantastic. Iconic. Great music. Weird movie. Oh, this is a single that my dad gave me. This is not good era of Rolling Stones, but you know, I'm not the biggest Rolling Stone fan. I'm just not. The songs that I like from them are really good, and then I'll listen to the other stuff that'll be on that same record, and I just don't like it. I'm just not a big. It's not a big Rolling Stone fan. But you know what I am a big fan of is Rush. Even though this is the only thing I have from them. I need to get more Rush. But yeah. Moving Pictures, Tom Sawyer. You know the drill. Wait, does it have XYZ? Yeah, it has XYZ. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh man. This is a rare one. This is a very rare one. And it's intentionally bare bones. There's no point pointing out. It's bare bones. Black. I don't even think it's 120 gram, 180 gram. Might be. No, it's not. It's St. Pepsi, Hit Vibes. Doesn't even say St. Pepsi on here because he got in trouble last time he released stuff under St. Pepsi. Pepsi, not a big fan of people using their trademark to call their band names or whatever. Hit Vibes is absolutely fantastic. It's future funk, very in the same wave of. It's an outgrowth, I guess. We're still in the same family of vaporwave. It's hard to explain. I highly recommend you give at least the first song on this album to listen to. St. Pepsi, Hit Vibes. There's a full album. Just hit play. You'll love it. Just by the little intro track. I think it's just called Introduction. No, it's just called Hit Vibes. Play Hit Vibes on Hit Vibes by St. Pepsi. Yeah, so he re-released this. It's not under St. Pepsi for legal reasons. But man, is it great. This isn't nothing. There's nothing on this. It's just a black singles sleeve. What we got here? Santana. Do I need to say much about this album? Santana. Santana before they got weird 90s pop stuff. Here we go. Yes. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, the soundtrack. This is not the Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie, the soundtrack, which does have a bunch of cool songs. This is Anna Mataguchi, who does a lot of like chiptune rock. So they do live instrumentation on top of like chiptunes and stuff. But yeah, some nice artwork from the game. Absolutely fantastic. If you have not heard this, I don't care what your take on music is. This is definitely worth a listen. It's weird how they kind of combine chiptunes and like modern rock music so seamlessly, and it sounds right. And for a video game soundtrack, it only makes sense. It only makes sense. They should be doing a lot. I think this is like the only game that they may have. I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'm happy. But they need to do more video game soundtracks. Companies should hire them to do video game soundtracks more often than they do. This is another digitally remixed album. This is one we talked about we were going to get to, and we are getting to it. We're here now. Snoop Dogg Dougie style, 10 out of 10. Songs are absolutely banging. And the songs that are even better than the ones you heard on the radio are all the other ones that are not on the radio. They're all better than the ones that are on the radio, and the ones that are on the radio are awesome. This album is fucking a 10. A 10. 10. Everyone. Every single track on here. Banger, banger, banger. Stand By Me soundtrack. It's got a lot of like 60s kind of like pop stuff. The Good Times Roll. Stand By Me, obviously. Great Balls of Fire. Yakety Yak. Don't talk back. What we got here? Star Wars sucks. If it's not the first three movies, they suck. Everything sucks. Everything sucks. The movie this is the soundtrack to sucks. I actually had some great promise for it. Then I saw the sequel and I was like, oh, okay. So all that stuff just ends up in a stupid place. Then it's all stupid. It's all for nothing. But I bought this for a reason. I even bought this after I decided that I did not like the movie, and after I saw the second one and realized that it was all stupid and I wanted nothing to do with it. But I bought it for one very cool reason. See those little scratches? Those are actually holograms, and I'll show them. I'll put them in post. I will fix this video in post. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this movie. And of course, I mean, it does have like the fanfare. It's got some decent songs on here. It's not the best Star Wars soundtrack. You know, it is what it is. Why did I put that in there? But yeah, I'll put it in post. I'll put a video of it in post. But it's basically a little hologram that looks like it's floating above, and yeah, that looks kind of cool. That looks kind of cool. Too bad the music turned out, the movie turned out to be dumb. I mean, on its own, it was good. But yeah, it's just... Then we actually found out what all that stuff meant, and it just meant nothing. That was just a complete waste of time. Swans, to be kind. I need to get the other two in the trilogy. I need to get the Sierra. I need to get Glowing Man. But man, I had to get this one because it was so fucking great. The Glowing Man probably is a lot better, but yeah, this is so good. So good. If you don't know what this is Swans. Swans have gone through like a long, sordid history of different music styles. They've done like no wave stuff that just sounds awful. The industrial stuff, I'm not really into industrial, but it's actually not bad. More definitely leaning more into noise and stuff on the industrial side. They went on like hiatus for a bit, and then they started doing like weird soundtracks, and that's when I thought they started getting good. Like when they did soundtracks for the blind, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm in. This iteration of Swans is basically like kind of starting like a groove, and then having it build and build and build and build and build to you think the point, like it has to climax. There has to be a climax here. But no, it keeps building and building and building, and it's almost like meditative and it definitely puts you in a trance. And I can't even explain it. It's so good, but it's like rock and I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's so good. Definitely some experimental rock going on here, and oh my god, I love this album. I need to get the rest. I need to get the whole trilogy and just spend a whole day doing nothing but listening to those trilogy because they're so good. It's so good. The album's a 10. This album is also a 10. This was also another Holy Grail album that was super expensive because they only released it in the early, 2001? 2001, there was no real vinyl scene. It was like a handful of weirdos, and that was it. I did buy one or two records because I did like records here and there, having some records. But everybody was listening to CDs. There was no big issue, and like no one ever thought of it that way, just for a couple of weirdos like me. But I didn't pick it up at the time because I wasn't really super into vinyl. And by the time I found this album, or by the time I like fell in love with this album, like you couldn't get it on vinyl anymore because they did such a small run of it because it's such a niche thing. But I did you did get the next one. And this album was great. I mean, I don't have to say much about it. You should know. It's great. So I pre-ordered this one, because I thought the other one was so good. I mean, like, they had to deliver on the second one. I was not a big fan of the first record. It's not bad. It's just not my thing. And then that album was just so good. And I was like, oh, I got to pre-order the next one, which is still this album. This one was going for pretty pennies. I think it still kind of is going for some pretty penny. Not super much, but got it, took it home, listened to it. Was not a fan. Was not the biggest fan. I mean, there's some good songs on here, but overall, it was just really disappointing. That's when I was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to System of a Down before I buy it. Because I just put faith on that one. This album was great also. I don't know if it's a 10, but it's also really great. I don't think any of Tame Impala stuff. I do love Tame Impala. They're like one of the large like top 10. But they only had 2 albums that I really loved. Arguably 3. It's this one and the next one. This is Inner Speaker by Tame Impala. Really kind of digging into those classical sounds of neo-psychedelia. They're not doing their own thing, because neo-psychedelia kind of falls in kind of 2 things. Like you're either going for the original sound, like you're doing like a Tame Impala, or you're doing a Black Angels type of thing, or you're doing your own thing. You're doing like that Flaming Lips thing, like you're doing the Animal Collective, right? You're going in that direction. You're going one or the other, and this is definitely going in that kind of traditional vein, which I like. I prefer. That's the style I like. And this is very weird because this is not the first one I listened to. The first one, I thought I was listening to this one. Downloaded both. I tried to listen to this one first, but I think I actually pressed the wrong folder and started listening to the next album, which I do like better. Hold on. Lonerism, and there was like a song. The first song I heard on here was "Got to Be Above It," because a friend recommended that I listen to this album. He says you're gonna love this album, and it started playing, and I was like, oh, just sampling John Lennon's voice. That's cool, because it was kind of like "Got to be above it, got to be above it, And I was like, okay, but I'd never heard that John Lennon song before. But okay, let's listen. There was some outcut or something I never heard. And the next one, I was like, oh, there's another John Lennon song I never heard. Then by the third track, I was like, no, this guy just sounds like John Lennon. These are like original songs. And I had to go back and listen to it from the very beginning and be like, okay. But yeah, I legitimately thought it was John Lennon. And no, it's just one guy, Kevin Parker. He does all the music, records everything on both albums, records everything, teaches the pieces to the band so they can play it live. But that's just him. He just sits in his room and records music and releases it under his name and has a touring band that he goes with, kind of like the way Foo Fighters used to do it. This is their live album, which has an even better version of Gotta Be Above It on here. I think that's the definitive way to listen to Gotta Be Above It. Is off, what is this called? Live versions. Fantastic record. Record Store Day exclusive, by the way. But you can still find it. And keep going on. It's like, I think there's like one trend that's kind of going throughout my records. It's not ska. It's psychedelic rock. Here we are. I actually bought this with Bitcoin. That's why this sticker is on here. I am not a big fan of Bitcoin anymore, but for a time I was a true believer. So yeah, I bought this. I think I took some Bitcoin and I think I bought a gift card, and then I went to a store that accepted that gift card and bought that. So this is Temple's Sun Structures. Also a great psychedelic rock record. Fantastic. This came out of nowhere, and some of their other stuff is really good. I just never had time to sit down and listen to their newer stuff because this stuff is just so on the money. Hit that scratch. Started scratching that itch really well. Here we go, the 12th anniversary edition of the greatest and best debut album of all time, or in the world, excuse me. And oh yeah, how about a free high quality album download? One previously unreleased song. Did that do anything for you? Rock. That is Tenacious D's self-titled album. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you have not heard this, this is amazing. They actually are Jack Black and Kyle Gass. Jack Black, yes, that Jack Black. Jack Black. This was his band before he got really famous, and after he got famous, he was like, we need to actually come out with an album because we had a TV show, we have a bunch of songs, like we should actually make an album. So they did, and they came out with this, and this is just 10 out of 10. Just 10 out of 10 comedy, rock, leaning kind of more into like the acoustic stuff because originally their band is just them two playing two acoustic guitars. But you also got Dave Grohl on drums. You also have, and we're going to get into this a little bit more later on, Fitzgerald. I think it's Mark Fitzgerald? Mark Fitzgerald? Anyway, the Mutant Boy from the Vandals does all the electric guitar stuff on here. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If you have not heard this record, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop this. Go listen to this. Come back. Tell me what you think. Speaking of albums that are 10 out of 10, but it is great. Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim, live at the Royal Albert Hall. It's Tiny Tim, and he does Living in the Moonlight. He does Tiptoe Through Tulips. I really need to get this in a proper sleeve. Was there any reason why I didn't? Oh, it's on color vinyl? Okay. I don't even remember what color it is. What color are you? There's Tiny Tim and his ukulele. Sort of a red, orangey red color. It's definitely more orangey to me in real life. No, it's actually red. Never mind. I take it back. It's completely red. It's 100% red. It looked kind of orangey when I was looking through it within the light. And this looks like it's the same. Yeah, red. Orange when you look through it in light. But yeah, this is him performing live at the Royal Albert Hall. And Tiny Tim was a great man. Maybe I'll, at some point, get all these hype stickers off gently, carefully, so I can get rid of the sticky cover that could possibly damage it. Anyways, I mean, what two great records to kind of sit next to each other. Imagine just being stuck between Tenacious D. All right, so this is an album I regret buying, and it's not because it's bad music. It's really good music. I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, everybody, like, all over this band, but I am not that camp. I just think that they're pretty good, and they're worth a listen every once in a while, but this is not worth a listen. This is a great album. Or actually, not a great album. It's a good album. There is one song on here that's literally just crickets chirping for like 7 minutes. Come on. And I did have to repair this. This is Tool Undertow. It's a good album. It's a fine album. The great songs on here. Before they really kind of hit their stride with like Lateralis and Enema. But this is the worst presentation I have ever gotten in a record at all. And it's bad on everything, right? The thing I had to super glue shut because the couple of times that I listened to it was enough stress for the thing to come off the glue to completely detach, and this was like folded over. So I had to put super glue on this. Has no liner notes. The records are just plain labels, black, not even 180 gram, nothing. This is just as bare bones as it gets. Two LPs. To make matters worse, it sounds like you're listening to the album through a tin can. It sounds terrible. It's not mixed for records. This sounds like they took the CD. This was also before the Loudness Awards. It looks like they just took the CD master and tossed it on a record, and it sounds like tinny and muddled at the same time. Like it's just not mixed well. It sounds awful, and because of that, I refuse to buy anything Tool. I will not buy any Tool record at all, until this is fixed. Until they release a version of this record that doesn't sound like hot ass. This is unacceptable. This should never have been released. It's not defective. It looks like it's fine. It's just poor packaging, cheapest quality materials, no mastering for the LP. They just dumped the CD version on here and called it a day. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I will not buy Tool records until I know this problem is fixed. And not that long ago, I left a... this is still happening. It's still being sold. And I left a really nasty review on Amazon about this. And I still I'll get like notifications on it every once in a while. Like someone like, yeah, it happened to me too. I should have listened to I would have saw your comment before I bought this. Do not buy this. This is bad. Awful. I don't care what you think of the album. Get the CD version. Do not buy this. Unacceptable. Yeah, I will not buy anything Tool until I know that there's a better version of that. They should actually fucking buy that off me. That's absolute garbage if they release that. Anyways, Tron Legacy. This is another Holy Grail record that got re-released at Target. It's on Transparent Blue. I'm not going to pull it out for the Transparent Blue. Unless it's really interesting, I won't pull it out. Tron Legacy. Fantastic. Another, it's not the only Daft Punk I own. I forgot. I also own this. This is Daft Punk doing a soundtrack for the Tron Legacy film. And it's pretty good. Tom Waits, Blood Money, if you don't know who Tom Waits is. go watch his appearance on Austin City Limits. I think it's called Austin City Limits. Go watch his appearance on Austin City Limits. Listen to this album. You'll thank me. This is not his best album, but it's great. And by the way, if you laughed at my previous joke about Trap Mask Replica, sound like Tom Waits, sound like Julie Andrew, and you don't know who he is, consider yourself punished. I know who you are, and I know you're a faker, and I'm going to out you right now. Now, I had a lot of one of the members of this band, two of the members actually of this band. Two of the members of this band are studio musicians, and they are you'll constantly see them being on different albums here and there. They're usually helping out other artists and stuff. It's too long to list, especially one of them. And that is Warren. There we go. Warren Fitzgerald, Mutant Boy Fitzgerald, who is a guitarist. He's great, and he was on the Tenacious D album, and then Josh Freese has been in virtually everything. Virtually everything. In fact, he's a new drummer for Foo Fighters. He's been in Vandals. He's been in Devo. He's been in Perfect Circle, and then he's also just been a studio musician for forever. And he's often will just do a track while the drummer's sick or something for a band. So yeah, he's really talented, and he started out actually at Disneyland, but after Disneyland, his first legitimate job was with the Vandals. This is a Record Store Day exclusive. They're Vandals Live, and we have more on this release in just a second. But this is a live performance of them. Intermediate. Also, between a lot of these songs, you'll hear interludes between things, like people talking and stuff like that. And that is because it is the soundtrack for a documentary about the band, also called Sweating to the Oldies, which we will get to in just a little bit, because we're going to go through my miscellaneous stuff too. There we go. This is the band I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times because I grew up in the area this band existed in. And I actually put this out of order because I just put one in. So this is the Voodoo Glow Skulls. They are from Riverside, California. I've seen them play in the garage. I've seen in their garage. I've seen them play the barn numerous times. I've seen them play at the Pomona Glass House a million times. I've seen them play all of the time. One of my commenters pointed out that when I saw Hoobastank, that it was at a Voodoo Glow Skull show, and I was like, I think that might be right. I think it might have been that one. I think that was right. I'm not sure. But I've seen Voodoo Glow Skulls enough to be like, that's entirely possible, because I've seen them a trillion times because I'm from their town. They actually went to my high school. I actually went to Alvord High School, continuation high school, because I was not a good student. But anyways, but yeah, they used to go there too. Yeah, some of them also went to Poly High, and so they kind of lived over in that area. A lot of them did practice over in that area, but ska punk, and they actually had a full horn section, and they are aggressively punk for a ska band. In fact, they're very much more in the punk side, even though they have a horn section of ska, than they are ska. So, I mean, they're actually great. Very much kind of inspired a lot by mariachi music. So you get a lot of mariachi style horns too as well, because they're really proud about their Mexican heritage. And I'm going to skip that one because that actually comes after this one. This one I just picked up not that long ago. This is Ferme. This is an album that they did, which was kind of unique for them. Since some of their songs actually were in Spanish, they instead of having a couple of Spanish songs, a couple of English songs, I don't think they've done this since. But they made an album in English and then sang a Spanish version of it. So this is actually the same album. This is actually a single album. But you get it twice, once in Spanish and once in English. So one disc is English, one disc is Spanish, which is kind of neat. When you bought this record originally, you had to pick whether you want the Spanish or English versions. But now you get both in one package. Also great. Also fantastic. I think Who Is This is a better start for a better record from them. This one's also probably better than Fermi. Not as good as Who Is This, but this is also really good. This is Band Geek Mafia. It has one of their slowest songs, which is Left 4 Dead. I think it was Left 4 Dead. Yeah, Left 4 Dead was one of their slowest songs, and it's still kind of very fast-paced. Fantastic record as well, Scott Punk. They were very consistent in their discography. I still need to get Bailey's de los Locos, but I haven't seen it for a good price, so here we are. I've been looking everywhere for Scientist, rids the world of the Curse of the Vampire. I've been looking forever for it. Cannot find it anywhere for a reasonable price. That is the dub music that you would have found on Grand Theft Auto 3, the original Grand Theft Auto 3. If you listen to K-Ja, all of the songs on there were Scientist. And I was a big fan of that album. And when it was on there, I was like, hell yeah. This is where all of the music for that came from. So they basically Scientists took this album, got the studio tracks from it, made a dub album out of it. And that was The Curse of the Mummy or whatever the fuck it was called. But this is Firehouse Rock. So basically, these are the original reggae versions of the songs that were on there. So this is a healthy compromise. All right, so Rainforest by Walter Wanderley. This is straight up elevator music. Listen to Summer Samba, also known as Summer Samba. So nice. And you will be like, holy crap, that is straight up elevator music. Where have I heard that before? I've heard it. Oh my God, it smells old. It just smells like old. Like old people. It smells like old people's books. Oh my God. Anyways, yeah. Go listen to that song. You'll be like, I've heard that before, but where? And I know one place that I had heard this, and that was on one of the Half-Life Full Life Consequences videos. They used it. Summer Samba. So nice. Another one of my grandparents' records. This is the greatest hits of Hank Williams. If you don't know Hank Williams, you should. And I also got his cover album by the Residents. On Stage. Hank Williams Live. Also great. I'm going to leave that there. Weird Al Yankovic. I need to get more Weird Al. This is not his best album, but this is really good. It's really good. The polka is also really good on you as well. The only issue that I had with this album, and it's not his fault, is just the landscape of music is so much different now that I had to go and listen to the originals because I had no reference to what he was doing most of the time. A lot of stuff in the polkas I did. Yeah. I still think he could have chose better songs. More recognizable songs. He could have shown like a Miley Cyrus song. Or he did that in the polka, but I think that would have been much more deserving. Another good reggae, but this is different reggae. This is more like MC reggae. He's definitely kind of going more like hip hop reggae. Really good. Definitely recommend Yellow Man. You call him Yellow Man because he's his albinism. Really good. And then the last artist on my list is something you would kind of hit you out of left field. This is Young Lean, Unknown Death, 2002. This is a hard to say. He definitely kind of falls in the category of SoundCloud rap, but don't sign off yet. He is definitely a meme. He's very silly. His lyrics are what? Up in the club and I see 5 elements. Bitch, I'm Bruce Willis, so you know I'm time traveling. It was Oreo Milkshake. It was not on this one. Yeah, this is just a silly record, but the instrumentals on there are so relaxed, so chill. He is very relaxed, very chill, while saying stuff that's like almost schizophrenic, and it's great. And he's also a fellow snooze user, even though I currently am quitting right now. Hence the Swedish snooze enjoyer. So, yeah, that's good. Not as good, but still good. Young Lean, Unknown City. Oh, Unknown Memory, excuse me. Actually, let me just put this. Yeah, because I moved not too long ago. And I had some of these. No, actually, this was a while ago I had this up. This was when I was still in my old apartment in Vegas. This would have been almost like 10 years ago. Oh, no, I remember I did the 2016 thing there. Okay, no. So anyways, it's been a long time since I listened to this. I need to put this on and give it a spin. It does got Yoshi City on here, which Yoshi City is great. This is Unknown Memories by Young Lean. If this is nice to listen to after you've already been familiar with his first mixtapes and some of his other stuff. His Unfamiliar mixtape, which I can't find anywhere. I don't think it's ever been officially released. But yeah. Anyways, that concludes the LPs and 12 inches, right? So let's get into some 10 inches. I got some 10 incher. I got a 10 incher for you, baby. I don't remember what this is. I remember listening to it and liking it. I need to go back and listen to it, but this is some sort of Finnish music sampler. Satellite Stories, Neov, The New Triggers, Beast Milk, Muriel Wagner, and Jaco Eno Levy. I don't know. But I do remember listening to it and actually enjoying it. I need to go back and listen to it. I'll do it later. Then I got two at the drive-in 10-inch records, which is Via, obviously. No. And then their new EP, which I like better than their album. I did not get their new album. I'm not a big fan of it, but this was also really good. All right, so let's go into some 7 inches. 7 inches, also known as, it's still big. It's still big. We got Sunny Day Real Estate, doing a split single with Circus Survive. Red vinyl, record store day exclusive. I got this little, I don't remember what this is. This is just some sort of freebie that they gave out during a record store day. I don't even know what it is. I don't even care. You know, this is a record that I used to listen to all the time when I was a kid at my grandfather's house, which is the Main Street Electrical Parade music on a old style picture disc. Which I don't know how they made those ones, but yeah. I got the Flaming Lips, the Gates of Steel, split EP with split single with Devo. So Devo doing their song, The Gates of Steel, and then the Flaming Lips covering it live. Fluidoid, the band I mentioned earlier, who was the guitarist for Melody's Echo Chamber, got his two singles, 7-inch singles, which is Je suis la montage, La raison du ciel des diamants, des folies pures, des CQ to S. Really great, by the way. Listen to these. I know they're kind of weird, but Moodoid's kind of first. These are their first kind of releases. There we go. This is The Residents, not available. Work in progress. This is before it was finished. They're kind of workshopping. Not available. The album that we talked about. Really good. Kind of neat to see what they were kind of doing. More Residents. This is Santa Dog. Santa Dog's a Jesus fetus. It's very common for like once you find out that a friend of yours or someone, an acquaintance or whatever, is a fan of the Residents, for you to kind of greet them, kind of like as a secret handshake. This album, Santa Dog, and to say Santa Dog's a Jesus fetus. Yeah. Great Christmas album, by the way. Fantastic Christmas record. Highly recommended. 10 out of 10. I don't even know how this actually goes back in. Whatever. This works. It's upside down. Whatever. Vertigo Souls. This is 2 songs from Ferme, Land of Misfit Toys, and Charlie Brown. And it's got the Riverside Ring Cross, which I'm planning on having tattooed at some point. ZZ Ward, this is another freebie that I got. I don't know who this lady is at all. But Com Truise remixed one of her songs. And it's very Com Truise. If you don't know Com Truise, kind of vaporwave, synthwave, kind of somewhere in the middle there. Now here, we got some other stuff. Okay, mostly kind of weird, but Okay, so I got, is this really it? Yeah. Wait, is that it? One, two, buckle my shoe. Oh, with a white duck. Okay, so yeah, this is a little 7-inch for kids record that I used to listen to when I was little, that my grandparents had. We had Claude King, Wolverton Mountain, and a little bitty heart. I don't know. Let's go through all of those before we get to the other ones. Disney stuff. Then we have Chipmunk Phone, which was that one. Then there was this one, which is Sneaky Snake by Tom Hall and I Care by Tom Hall, single. Yeah, kind of weird stuff. A lot of the stuff, these ones came from my, those two came from my grandparents. All right, back to the other stuff. Okay. Little sidetrack by kid stuff. Mephistopheles demo. We already talked about this. This is the Demon version, right? What do you guys call it? No, Demon version. Story behind this one was I used to go to this store called Mad Platter, Riverside, California, and they had, every once in a while they would hand out like these little like sample free singles. And one of the ones I got was actually an Incubus. It was, I went and saw Korn there in the parking lot. In fact, you can actually look this up. If you look up Korn, Korn had done like this weird little press release and signing albums during the Follow Your Leader tour, and they did a stop there. And when they were stopping there, they were handing out tapes of this little known band called Incubus that nobody had ever heard of. And I was like, holy shit, this is great. And, it was songs from Science. I went back and listened to their previous record because that one wasn't out yet, which was Fungus Among Us. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. So I liked the first two albums of Incubus, and I think they got a little bit poppy for my taste. But anyways, not a big fan. Stum was one of the ones they were handing out a record, and it had a song on it called Skydiver. And it was kind of a weird song. I didn't know if I liked it. And to this day, I still don't know if I like this. But I gave it to a friend of mine to borrow, and I was like, listen to this. Tell me what you think of it. And he, like, the next day was like, Skydiver, like, jump right off the face of it. And so it almost became like a meme between me and him. So when I saw this on Discogs, I was like, all right. I don't think they had the full album on vinyl. But they did have the single. So here we are, Stum, Skydiver. And I believe Positive was the other song that was on the cassette single as well. So I have that cassette on vinyl now, just not on cassette. I wish I still kept it. I think he might have kept it. I think he might have it still. We'll see. And then this one I bought just because it was Pink Floyd and it was like $10. And yeah, I guess all proceeds went to Ukraine. And not to get political or anything, but it's not really. I mean, whatever. I'm in. I don't want to get involved with it at all. I don't want to get involved with it at all, personally. But it's kind of fucked up. Whatever. I'll give him a couple bucks, and yeah. This was okay. This was okay. It's definitely David Gilmour, but it's okay. Yeah. And whatever, $10. Get to listen to a, Division Bell B-side almost is what it's like. Okay. So that's my 7 inches. Let's do a quick DVD. It's got 3 of them. Shapeshifters. Dusty cap, sorry. Shapeshifters, underground hip hop, very abstract hip hop. The Shapeshifters are fucking weird, and Circus is a weirdo, and I don't know what happened to him. I hope everything is okay with him, but he pretty much deleted all of his online presence. And he's just kind of completely offline. He's nowhere to be found. Their music is hard to find. I hope to someday try to track down some of their stuff and get it re-uploaded just for archival purposes, because it was really good, really weird but very good. Tenacious D, The Complete Masterworks. This is them playing live. It's all of their HBO shows, all their music videos that they did up to that point, up until the point of what is it? The fucking movie, Pick of Destiny. There you go. Really good. If you like Tenacious D, there you go. Tenacious D, Complete Masterworks. And then this is the documentary I was talking about the Vandals. Really fucking weird. Warren is a fucking nut job, but I think it's all a big show because when he's in a studio and he's doing like production stuff, and there was actually clips of him doing that, he's like dead serious. He is all that weird nonsense that he does. Just gonna go to the side. All right, let's go to the CDs, the little CDs. I really wish I would have saved all my CDs because I had so many awesome CDs, and then MP3s came around. And I was like, I don't need all this shit no more. Stupid. This is embryonic. It came with the record. Came with the vinyl when I got it. That's all I was today. Embryonic Flaming Lips. Dark Side of the Moon. This is a remaster. My grandmother gave this to me before she passed away. She was kind of cleaning out her stuff, and because she knew she was dying, and she was moving to a smaller place, and she was getting rid of a lot of stuff. She gave me a couple of paintings, which sometimes I'll showcase at some point. But she was like, yeah, I was dating this guy and he was really into Pink Floyd, and he gave me the CD because he thought that I would like it, and I was not a big fan of it. It's not terrible, but it's not for me. Do you want it? And I was like, hell yeah, I could always love a CD copy of it. So there's that. There's a podcast that I listened to called You're Welcome with Michael Malice, and he has all different types of people on. I mean, all over the political spectrum. You get like people like Jordan P. Peterson is on there, and then you'll get someone like fucking Sank from the Young Turks. Like he talks to anybody who will talk to him, which is cool. But he has this intro music that I really liked from his original show, which is I don't remember what it is. Maybe I should try to track it down. But I liked that song, and then he had to change it for copyright reasons. They pulled the copyright from it, and so he had to like remove it from all of his episodes and put this song on. So he put one of the songs from this on there, and I was like, this is kind of a neat song. And I dug it out and found out what it was, and I liked it and ordered the CD. And when I ordered the CD, because there was such... it's a Legendary House Cat. Legendary House Cat's Greatest Blips Volume 1. They're only blips. And bought it, and they were like, they didn't send it out to me, and I was like, hey guys, did you guys forget about me, or what's going on? And they're like, oh dude, we didn't even check this because barely anybody buys stuff from us, so we're sorry, we'll send it out tomorrow. We still have some, don't worry. All right, so moving along. Freak Daddy, this was good luck finding a copy of this. I just happened to stumble on a cheap copy. Someone had it in Dallas. I don't know why. This is a Riverside ska band. I could not find anything on the internet from them. I thought that they would upload stuff, and they never did. So I put all their stuff on the internet because I still had MP3s of everything. And then like some people were helping me correct some of the song titles that I didn't have access to. So thank you to everybody who did that, even though you're probably not seeing this. But I was able to manage to put their whole entire discography back up on YouTube, and they had linked it on their stuff when they were doing like a reunion kind of tour in Southern California. And they noticed that they were grateful that I did that. So you're welcome. But yeah, Freak Daddy, Take Me to Yulita. Listen to this. I don't care what your thoughts are about ska. They're very kind of groovy and awesome. And it's kind of a shame that they never went anywhere. Very popular in Southern California, but yeah. This is another band. This is a group from Moon Ska Records. This is Edna's Goldfish. Before You Knew Better. Kind of neat. I had the whole band sign it. And they had this little inside joke that, like, when I was talking to him outside of the show about this record and they were all signing it, I sneezed. And he said, God bless you now and forever. And I was like, huh? And it turned out it was like this long joke that like someone was like sneezing in the band when they were on tour or whatever. If I remember this, they told me this in the 90s. They were like sneezing, and and then like he got tired of saying God, bless you. They just said, God bless you none forever. So we didn't have to keep saying bless you every time you sneezed. And it got to kind of be able to mean with them. And I guess, am I in on the joke still? I don't know. It's been a while since I heard it or said it, so whatever. And then, of course, I do not subscribe to this at all. I used to as a younger child, but not anymore. The JLB Afro Spoken Word album. This is Machine Gun in the Clown's Hands, and yeah, I have all 3 discs. It'll open. Yeah, I have all 3 discs. I'm not going to get political. This is not a political channel. I'm not interested in talking about politics, but yeah, this was something that I was very into when I was younger. Heads have grown out of it, and that is it. We have done it all. We did it all. It took me two tries to get this done, but we're going to do it. I'm going to shoot a copy of me playing that vinyl so you can see the cool halo effect, and I will talk to you guys later. Be sure to subscribe to my main channel, which is Atonal, which we do deep dives and exploratory videos. Subscribe to this channel if you want to have more kind of in-depth discussions about records and music and that sort of thing. And oh yeah, check out this video where I talk about a satanic ska band.